When he says it, he means it, and you don't get to bend it and twist it to what you want. To reach the lost Israelites, the message has to go to everybody, and then the whomsoever wills will come. The ones who he draws will come. By the way, knowledge meaning what? Having a relationship with the truth. Oh, you learned, and you got tons of information, but have you come into a relationship with truth? Now we're going to get to that secret we talked about earlier. The secret of Yahweh is with those who fear him. See, everybody's all addicted to that stuff. No, just fear him. He'll reveal what secrets need to be revealed. And by the way, it's not going to be some esoteric bizarreness out in the middle of like La La Land. Okay? He's going to give you deeper understanding of the simple things that he wanted you to do, but now you'll understand them in a much more deep way. He goes, the secret of Yahweh is to those who fear him, and he makes his covenant known to them. Now, this is really important, and this is really, hopefully this will come across in the right way. First of all, the verse there, the Hebrew where it says secret is the word sod. Okay, sod, which means intimacy or counsel or secret. So we talk about the 4 levels of interpretation, and the 4th level is sod. Okay, we talk about the acronym PARDES, Pashat, Remez, Drash, and Sod. So if you ever wondered what sod means, here's the word sod, and actually it's exactly how it's pronounced here. It's not a different, pronunciation. This is sod, when it says in this verse, the secret of Yahweh, the sod level of Yahweh is with those who fear him. Now, so that means stop getting your sod information from those not obeying his commandments and not fearing him. Did I hurt anybody's feelings? Did I step on the toes of people that you're all following? Because I have people sending me stuff, and I'm listening to their stuff, and then I find out that those people whose stuff they're sending me, and when I find out what they believe, and I go, why are you listening to these people? Right. These people don't fear Yahweh. Now, I'm not saying that automatically means that these people don't have any understanding, but it says here, if you want the secret stuff, go find it from someone who's showing you that they fear Yahweh. And so they're not going to be the ones who are disobediently breaking commandments, because if they feared Yahweh, they'd be keeping commandments. So if they don't, you know what? Why get secrets from somebody who don't know how to do Shabbat and don't know how to keep feasts, don't know how to eat right, the straightforward stuff that doesn't need secrets? Okay, this person doesn't understand basics, but they understand secrets. So I'm going to go seek after them because they understand this deep stuff. Really? Does that make any sense? Okay, so in other words, I'm struggling with my multiplications table, but you should come to me, even though I struggle in multiplications table, come to me to learn calculus. Does that mean, why would you do that? Okay, you're looking for this super deep advanced understanding, with somebody who is still struggling to do his times tables. I think we need to stop that. So before you get excited about somebody revealing some insight, some esoteric deep knowledge as you go through your Gnostic addiction, why don't you first figure out what that person believes and see how much basic understanding they actually have? Because, now, am I expecting them to be perfect? No. But at least they should know what to do to be perfect. Because a lot of you know what to do to be perfect, but yeah, you're not perfect, you're human beings, but that's okay. But at least you could tell people, if someone asked you, you could tell them what's the thing you're trying to do, you're striving to do. But if they're out there doing these things that are overtly and obviously not Torah observant, not submissive to his instructions, the very simple basic stuff, why would you think that he would give them this deep hidden knowledge? It makes no sense. So let's stop doing that, because I have people sending me all kinds of great esoteric deep understandings from mainstream teachers who don't have the basic understandings. By the way, that doesn't automatically mean they're wrong. They may have pieced some things together and done that, but I don't want to get that from them. It says here, again in the verse, let me make sure I got the right verse here. This is back in verse 14. The secret of Yahweh is with those who fear him, and he makes his covenant known to them. What was the covenant? Obey what I say, and I'll make you my people. So if they're not obeying what he says, why are we listening to them?
Connor, move over just a little bit so I can see him. We on? Test, test. 1, 2. Sound check. Okay, good. Test. We're good? All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Okay, if you'll all rise for the sounding of the shofar. Amen. Amen. All right. We're going to go ahead and sing praises to our King.
Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat.
Come, let us praise the Lord and sing him a new song. Come, let us sing his praise together with the saints, with all the righteous ones. Let Israel rejoice in her Creator. Let the children of Eretz Zion be glad in their King. Let them praise his name with dancing, making music with the tambourine and harp. For the Lord takes pleasure in his people. He will crown the humble with salvation. Let the saints rejoice in this order. Sing and dance unto the Lord. Come, let us praise the Lord and sing him a new song. Come, let us sing his praise together with the saints, with all the righteous ones. Let Israel rejoice in her Creator. Let the children of Eretz Zion be glad in their King. Let them praise his name with dancing, making music with the tambourine and harp. For the Lord takes pleasure in his people. He will crown the humble with salvation. Let the saints rejoice in this order. Sing and dance unto the Lord. Let them praise his name with dancing, making music with the tambourine and harp. For the Lord takes pleasure in his people. He will crown the humble with salvation. Let the saints rejoice in this order. Sing and dance unto the Lord. Sing and dance unto the Lord. Sing and dance unto the Lord.
Arise and shine. Arise and shine. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. And the nations shall come unto thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see, they gather themselves all together. So arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. And the sons of those who afflicted thee, and all who have despised you will bow down. Then they shall call you the city of the Lord, Zion of the Holy One of Israel. So arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. So arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. Oh, arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee.
Praise you, Lord, you're the rock of my salvation. You I praise from shore to shore in all your creation. Let it ring from mountain tops, let my voice proclaim the tender mercies of my Lord. Yeshua is his name. Messiah of Israel is he, restorer of our nation. The hope of David now we see, bringing us salvation. Root of Jesse, Lion of Judah, Judge of Israel. Now we praise you for your joy and love that never fails. Jesse, Lion of Judah, Judge of Israel. How I praise you, Lord, you're the rock of my salvation. You I praise from shore to shore in all your creation. Let it ring from mountain tops, let my voice proclaim tender mercies of my Lord. Yeshua is his name. Yeshua is his name.
Amen. Amen. Father, we come before you, and we are just so blessed that at creation, during the creation week, you knew and thought enough about your creation to give us a day of rest. A day to pause from all of our concerns, of all the things going on in our lives and in the world. A day to completely come before you, to get restored and refreshed. And so, Father, we just appreciate how much you love us to give us this time and this day that we get the blessing and the opportunity to keep. So, Father, we come before you singing and dancing and making a joyful noise to express the overflow of love that's in our hearts towards you and the joy that you give us. Father, we also now come before you anticipating what you would have for us today, to sit at your feet, to receive from you. So we ask, Father, that you would lead and guide all things, so that all things would be done to your glory and to your honor. So, Father, we come to you now, asking, seeking, and prepared to receive, in the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. 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 You may be seated, and I'm going to actually pass the mic over to Miss Shira. Marty will put you back on.
Okay, great. If I could have the team just come in close. Thank you, guys. Love you so much. I just want to say that for every time there is a season, and I have had 6 wonderful years with this amazing young lady. And today, on your 14th birthday, I think it's so timely, Yahweh arranged it, that Father is moving my heart to understand that she's ready to fly. She's ready to move forward and be trained and groomed in the position that I've been having and enjoying for all this time. And so this happy birthday, Brianna. In 6 months, you may not thank me. But each one here, we have the wonderful Huertas. They've been such a support to me. And we have Chris and Frederick, wonderful, wonderful talent. Marty back there. Marty, you've been with us almost since the beginning. You've pulled Brianna and me out of many a clinch. And Rabbi Steve, you are the best maestro ever. And I know that you're the best of many things ever, but I know that you are exactly the one to bring your dear daughter into the fullness of her calling with the wonderful support of these people. So I am stepping aside. There needs to be a vacancy to be filled, and so that she can move forward. And I am facing a new season of retirement, not exactly retirement, but I took the rocking chair test that Rabbi talks about. You know, when you look and you say, okay, I have so many productive years left, if Father should grant, and if I'm on my deathbed and I haven't done X, Y, or Z, I will regret it. So there are some X, Y's, and Z's in my heart, and I am excited about pursuing those. So I'm going to try not to cry because I'm going to miss you guys so much. You've been a true family to me. And so I'll try not to be too wordy, but I also just want to thank. I have received great encouragement from so many of you. Many of you know that leading a team is not really my most strong point, but Father's love has carried us all through. And for those out there in live stream land, your many encouragements have just really bolstered me. Sometimes the timing has been amazing. So thank you all, and most of all, thank our wonderful Yahweh for his mercies. And who knows, he may give me a song or two and that I can come and share with you in the future. So, amen. Thank you.
You know, I just want to express, how much, it's all Father's timing. When we were going through what we were going through and Shira moved here, the timing was almost within a week or two of when the people who had been doing our praise left. And so she was able to step right in, even though that was not why she came here. Wasn't thinking about that as why she came here, but she was able to step in there and has done such a fabulous job of leading the praise team. Now, a lot of you probably don't know that I'm actually the praise director. She called me the maestro, so I get here and I creatively help keep things on time and everything. I know you may think, well, what do you know about music? Well, I have an extensive music background. I can't sing like them or play like them, but I've got more of a conductor's, producer's mindset. And so they've been so great to work with, and Shira's been so great to allow me to help with the things that are going on. But she's done such a tremendous job. And the songs we sang today in that second set, a few of those are hers, and they're just such tremendously inspiring songs. And so she's not leaving us. She's just leaving this particular role for right now. And we certainly will hear more from her, I'm sure. And she is still working on the children's songs. And a lot of you have gotten to hear them in the feast that we do. And she does a great job on the children's songs. And so we praise Yah for you and ask him to bless you in all that you put your hands to do. Amen? Amen. Amen.
I just want to add, I don't want to forget you, Christina.
Right, because Christina was singing with us earlier, yes.
Christina was with us for quite a while, and thank you, Christina.
But now apparently she has her hands full.
Yes, she's got her hands
literally. With her beautiful baby. All right, awesome. Okay, and so we're going to need all of you to continue to pray and encourage Brianna as she kind of steps into that role. And again, with this continued guidance from me and support of the rest of the team. And so we're very excited for that. And it's just worked out. It happens to be today is her 14th birthday. So what a great thing. All right. Okay, so that's a great way to start off our praise time and prayer time. I think it's really fantastic that we're able to start with that. The music is a big part of getting us into the right mindset or frame of mind, or however you want to put it, get our hearts and our heads sort of lined up vertically so that we can receive and communicate. And look, and by the way, if you ever get into that place where you feel like you're not vertically communicating effectively, maybe take some time to praise. Find some praise songs that really work for you and inspire you, and sing from your heart those words as your words. And I've often said, and you've heard me say certain songs, I've said how they express beautifully where we should be and what our hearts should be feeling and what we should be thinking. And a lot of the songs today with the idea of your unfailing love and the way of Yahweh and searching, having him search us to see where our hearts are at, and all those beautiful songs. And so even the very fast, blessed is Yahweh. I mean, that's all praise. Merciful is Yahweh. All these wonderful things to how we should have our mind when we think of our Creator. And that would help us then when we enter into prayer. And so I think that's a beautiful thing. So again, I can't say how much I've been blessed and appreciate having so much of what I would normally have to do. Back in the day, I had to do all the music, and I didn't play any of it. We just picked songs on CDs and put them out there. But to have live music and to have someone who was able to put the team together, and Shira has been, in her career, more of the solo artist than the team person. And but you know what? You did a fabulous job, even though it was not your element and not your comfort zone, but you did a great job. And if you've ever been one or the other, it's not easy to transition. If you've been a team person, being a soloist is not easy, and vice versa. And so it's a challenge in the transition. And she actually helped my daughter, when she was much younger and just getting into this, understand how to go from a soloist voice into a team voice. Because as you know, she has such a strong voice, but then she's learned to temper it and fit it in and blend it, which was from guidance from Shira. Shira has helped her to do that, so it was beautiful. Okay, so this is the time now when we take up the praise and prayers within the congregation. Also, those of you on live stream, Robert is manning the admin desk there on the live stream. He'll take down your prayer and praise reports. And so we have, where's the mic? Nate? Somebody? Okay, Nate's got the mic. So if you raise your hand, he'll bring it to you. If you're online, Robert will make note of your prayers and praise. Bear in mind that because we do have a lot of people here, we have somewhere between 80 and 100 people, plus we have several hundred, 300-400 people online. Please keep your backstories to a minimum, okay? And so that we can get as many people in a fairly short period of time as we can. And also, especially for those of you on live stream, if you have prayers or praises that could be sort of lumped together into a package deal for several people, whether it's career stuff or health stuff or some of these more, I don't want to say minor things, but they're not emergencies. We'll try to read the emergencies out loud as best we can. But, a lot of us are struggling with finances. A lot of us are struggling with relationships. A lot of us are struggling with health. And so those can kind of be lumped together in general, okay? All right, we'll begin with Sarah Beth.
Thank you, Rabbi. I wanted to give praise. Many of you already know, but some of you may not. I had what I'm told, relatively serious accident this week. And I think it's just extremely beautiful how Father has used it in such amazing ways that I'm actually praising him for the accident. And that I'm standing as opposed to in any other condition. But praising him that many of you I know, especially on Facebook, have asked for a quick healing. And there were things that hurt right after the accident that haven't given me any trouble since. So I'm still discovering new things that hurt, and we'll be addressing those to the best of my ability. But continued prayers are appreciated, and I just wanted to give a really great shout out to my father.
Amen. Amen. Okay, so, and I'm only adding because Sarah Beth asked me to add. So we're talking about a car that got totaled, and when I saw the car and saw it with some of the leadership team, the staff, we went to look at the car to see if there was anything to do with it, and there was nothing to do but tell them they could crush it. That it's incredible that there's really no damage at all to Sarah Beth. She had a little bit of a bruise on her head, but really otherwise no real damage. Apparently the car took a lot of the impact to go airborne and spin and face back the other direction. And so there wasn't as much of the impact straight, and that's where you would have gotten more damage. It caught enough of an angle so that it went up and spun, and more of the energy was going into turning, a few thousand pound of car. And so that really worked out. Actually, I had a car accident like that many, many years ago where someone hit the front end of my car, and most of the energy went into spinning me, and I didn't get too badly. So that is a real miracle, because if you saw the car and saw the woman who was in the car, it'd be hard to match up that they were both in the same accident. And so that's a big praise right there. Okay, so that also helps answer the cryptic "I'm alive" post on Facebook. Okay, and people are wondering, what was that about? Okay, so it was a literal thing. Sometimes you think it's just one of those things where you're going through something and just like, wow, hey, I'm alive. No, it was something that could not have been that way. It could have been, I'm not alive, So, although I guess you wouldn't have posted on Facebook if you weren't alive, so I guess that wouldn't have worked. Okay, and then another thing that came up out of that as well is that timing is everything. We had discussed, because Sarah Beth has moved to Cleveland looking for work instead of out in Chattanooga where she was working, over here, something she could walk to, while we thought about what we'd have to do for a car. Now bear in mind, the car that had gotten damaged was a car that was donated for the purpose of helping people that had need, and it had helped her brother for a while, and now was helping her. And we also had a bus, a vehicle, we called it the bus, the 15-passenger van that was for the same purpose, and it was also donated for that purpose, and it was recently sold. And we were able to take the money 2 days after we got the money for it being sold to get a car that it looks as if it's brand new. It's a 24, it's such an old car, it has a tape deck. Wait, and a lighter. Because my son was like, what's that? Because I drove in it today, and he's like, I said, that's the lighter. He goes, the lighter? He says, yeah, the thing we always plug everything into, those used to be for the lighter. And you used to have to pull it out, put it in your little ashtray thing or whatever so that you could plug things in. This one still has the lighter and a tape deck. Wow. Okay, so it's a 1994 car. But if you looked at it on the inside, it's never had food in it, kids in it, anything. It was literally driven by a little old lady, and that was it, for all those years. And we were able to get that yesterday. And so, but the timing is even more. I'm driving back when we picked it up. David Hayes is driving that car, and my car's transmission goes. on the way here, because we're going to leave the car here. And it went just as we were about to go up a hill. So I got about halfway up and had to roll all the way back down. And then I called him and I said, you might need to come back here. My car just died. It just hemorrhaged, transmission fluid everywhere. But now I had a car to get home in and to drive here today that I wouldn't have had. And I would have had that problem probably on my way home instead of on my way to get the car, because I was about to leave here to go home. And I wouldn't have had David with me and all these other things. So Abba provided all of that stuff in advance, because my car didn't die until we had the other car. So it all just sort of, we'll call it just way too convenient to be an accident. How's that? Okay? Now others might just call it circumstantial, time and chance, but those of us can also say, but it's a faith builder for me because of the timing of it. Didn't happen on my way to meet him to get the car. It happened on the way back once we had the car. And so we then waited for the tow company to come, and they took my car yesterday. And so I'm sure we'll figure out something with that. But the thing is, it's all about the timing of these things. So I think that's a big praise. And so these are all those things that, remember we talked about, praise is all about when he does the signs and wonders to help encourage us that he's there and he's paying attention and that he cares. It builds and strengthens our emunah, our belief. This is just one of those moments. Okay, Michael.
I have several praise requests. The first one is I had a very dear aunt pass away Friday of cancer. She was very close to my dad and very close to me and her and my cousin. So please pray for my dad and the strength of my family. Also, pray for a financial blessing. The VA messed up my money again, and so I haven't paid my rent yet because the VA check hasn't came in yet. So I need that window to open up and let that come through. And then finally, I need prayer for a decisive decision that I need to make. I've been dealing with it for a long time, and I just need to get off the fence and make that decisive decision.
Okay, and again, I would encourage you to maybe talk to me after services, and we can do some counsel about some of those things, and we can do that. Appreciate that. Oh, and by the way, the thing I didn't mention about the car, guess how much it cost? The exact amount that we got for the other vehicle. Okay, and I hadn't had a chance to put that money in the bank yet. It was just given to us. It was in the offering box. I had it with me, and it needed to be cash because it was a Craigslist type of thing or whatever it was. Exact amount. That was already in hand, ready to go. Okay, who's next? Okay, Michelle? Oh.
Oh, you sabotaged me.
It's always appropriate to blame Nate. It's not a problem.
Well, he usually hands it to me ready. He should know better. I wanted to ask for prayer for my family out in California. They're burying my cousin today. I wanted to ask for prayer also for the Bork family, mainly Brittany. They're going in tonight at 11:45 to start this baby on the way. So tomorrow sometime we should have a little baby Bork.
Yay.
Yay. And finally, I just want to give praises to have my niece here. They just happen to be road tripping through, and she texted me earlier this week, hey, can we stop by? So my niece Winter is here, and her boyfriend Mango. And Nana and Papa are probably watching. You should say hi.
Hi, Nana and Papa.
Well, it's great to have you guys here and that you were in the neighborhood and able to come here today. And we'll get to meet you a little bit more during the Oneg afterwards. Okay, who's next? We got Nate jogging around over here to Rebitz and Joanne. Oh. Why don't we just leave it on, Nate, to make it easier for everybody?
Well, I have a praise report and a prayer request. My praise report is that I went to the doctor on Monday, and they took 4 x-rays of my ankle. And he couldn't even find a scar on my ankle, which really he was like, wow, this is completely healed. Can't even tell that you broke it. but I knew Abba would do that. So I told him, yeah, I knew that. And he kind of looked at me like, boy, is she arrogant. But my prayer request is that I need more prayer for an upcoming surgery I'm going to have at the end of the year. Oh, and one more praise report is that we went to the Nashville to the thoracic surgeons on Thursday, and Tom has been released from the surgeries. They said he's healed. You don't have to come back. So I was like,
Amen. Okay, I'm going to say something there. I don't know if all of you remember, but last year, around February, Rabbi Tom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer because of spots they thought were on his lungs. At least that's what they thought it was. Only to find out that's not what it was, but only to find out now that when they did his x-ray this week, his lungs are clean. No spots, no anything. So how about that for a 12-month journey? He was told all these, because he's always had clots and spots and things on his lungs. And they started to think these other things were happening that looked like cancer. But now he's healed. And so we're just so excited about that we can go, and that's a 12-month journey right there. So let you always have hope. Don't worry about what people say and what they may diagnose you. You just never know. You put it in Yah's hands, you have faith, and see what happens. Okay, because now he's absolutely clean in his lungs. And that's just an incredible thing. Because I don't know about you, but I remember seeing him, and back in February, and he didn't look like he was long for this world. Okay, he did not look like, and almost 100 pounds lighter now, and standing up and moving around and doing the things that he's doing. It's just fabulous praise to see all that. So he's an inspiration. But let it be a lesson to you that the reason I think you see all of this, especially in him, is because of his absolutely steadfast faith, stubbornness. Hey, listen, sometimes staying alive is about being stubborn. Because you could take two people, shoot them the same, or give them the same disease, or have the same accident happen to them, and the stubborn one's probably going to make it. Where the other one may just give up, quit, or whatever it is. Because every hospital talks about those kind of things. Two people come in, and the one with the worst thing, if the attitude's right, somehow makes it, and the one with the less thing doesn't. And so stubborn can be a good thing sometimes. And that man's not done. And I've told that to him too. I said, you can't go anywhere. We're not done with you. I got stuff for you to do. Okay, so let that be a good lesson. All right, where's the mic? Okay, Daweed?
Yes, I had some praise reports as well as prayer requests. I guess I'll start with the prayer requests first. I am sorting out, as you all know, Rabbi, the proper roles that I play in everybody in my life's life, and trying to learn how to properly execute those roles and not leave anybody hanging in any of those places I'm supposed to be. So I am requesting prayer for that, that Abba would give me wisdom. Obviously, through you. You have been already giving me wisdom in that, but I want to get this stuff done. And also, I wanted to give Abba praise for my sister's life, that she's alive. And in all of the battle that I'm dealing with life, I wanted to thank Abba for my bride that's standing with me and being my Ezer Kenegdo.
Amen. Amen. All right, so I'm gonna recommend a chiropractor. Why, you may think? Well, because you're wearing all these hats and your neck's getting stiff and stuff. Okay? There's the husband hat, there's the worker at the job hat, there's the, so you're wearing all these hats now, and it's your neck's not used to that. No, seriously, that's one of the things that we have to remember is that whether you're a man or a woman doesn't matter. You've got multiple roles, and you've got to be able to shift gears as you are functioning in those roles, whether it's daughter or wife or mother or employee or husband or father or worker or whatever it is in relation to the congregation and members, sister, brother. These are all different roles, and you don't do the same things in each role. Each role has certain things that require you to do a little differently. And so now he's got on the husband hat, and he's got to figure out what that looks like and how that's supposed to affect what he's been doing and figuring out prior to that his other roles, okay? And so, yeah, it's an interesting transition, and you'll get it worked out together. But thankfully also for you, you've got some people to mentor you, which is good. Okay, well, a lot of us got married or, we didn't have anybody to mentor us. So thankfully for you, now the good thing is, well, I should say it will only be a good thing if you actually listen to the mentoring. But you do generally listen, so that's good. Okay, who's next? Okay, Lynn?
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's been on my heart now that I've been here a little over a month to just praise Abba for this live stream, because so many of us would not even have known about MTOY if it weren't for the tireless efforts of the men who, 4 seasons a year, went and got equipment from wherever and packed it in their cars and set it all up. And I just can't imagine how much time and effort and how difficult that could have been. I haven't been through the humidity yet, but it's so many of us have come in these last few years, and we're just on the live stream, we're very, very, very grateful for your quiet service and for doing that for us. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you doing all of that. And so I just pray a special blessing to every, I think it was a gentleman that did that, but every single one of you that have been part of that behind the scenes, week after week. So it's been such a blessing, and we're very, very grateful. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we do have a lot of people behind cameras and but as Lynn pointed out, there was, until the last couple of 3 or 4 months, this all had to be broken down every week and reset up and brought to a storage unit. And of course, it never rained when we did that. And it was never really cold or really hot. I mean, it's amazing how many Sabbaths it did rain, and we had to try to make sure the equipment didn't get wet, and we had to get this stuff loaded and unloaded. And now we got a blessing of our own building, and we have everything here set up, and it doesn't move, and it stays right where it is. And so, it's just a fantastic thing. It used to be that a whole bunch of that stuff used to get loaded up in my van when I was doing most of it myself, and we had to load the van up with keyboards and all this other equipment. And now I show up just with my teaching bag and a bottle of water, and I'm ready to go. Everything else is here, and it's really great. But I do appreciate Lynn pointing out that, one of our mandates is to try to do what we can to meet the needs of those that are isolated, scattered, and don't have a place to go locally. And so that's why we spent a lot of money on the equipment to stream, and that's why we try to make it interactive. We got Robert interacting with people and taking down prayer requests, and after the teaching, he'll take down questions and comments, and we try to make this as interactive as possible. And so, we have a lot of people, and a lot of the younger ones, my son and Connor and some of the other teenagers have taken turns getting on the cameras and trying to do some additional things to help out, so that's been really good. So, anyway, who's next? Okay, Deirdre?
I'm just praising Abba because he gave me a revelation last night. I am a very slow-moving person since birth, and I also have struggles with attention deficit. So,
Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, a chicken. Now, you combine that with having a husband and having a daughter. I'm very lucky if I get the dishes done, and that's it. So last night I was having a little bit of difficulty transitioning from Martha into Mary, and I was holding Alice, and I was just opening up my heart to Yahweh, because I just believe you should tell him how you feel instead of hiding it, because he knows. So I'm just talking to him. I said, I did not mop the floor today. I'm getting pressure from my family about going to a funeral that I cannot go to. I'm just a little bit angry right now, Abba. I want a heart for Shabbat. I have practiced it my entire life because I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, but then I come into Torah and I'm like, how do I have the heart for it? How do I trans over from just acting it out to doing it, to just living it? I don't know how. And in that moment, I felt the words, that's why I gave it to you. Sabbath is not just for soaking, it's for learning. And he's given us there because he knows we're human and he knows we want to do other things. So he's given us this time to say, look, you need me. It's not just, do you want to come? I know you want to come into my presence, but you're having a hard time, so let me teach you. This is how I teach you. This is why it's mandatory, so that you can come into my presence. And I just am very grateful for that revelation.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, who's next? Rabbi Tom?
Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
First, I want to ask for the congregation for special prayer for Rebbetzin Joanne. She's going to have her turn at surgery at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. And I also want to give a praise report. My 6th great-granddaughter, Peyton Marie, who will be 4 weeks old this coming Tuesday, was finally released from the hospital, and she's home. And so we want to give Yahweh a praise for that.
Absolutely, amen.
Hallelujah. And also, we went to Nashville VA Hospital this past Thursday, and the thoracic surgery unit gave me a clean bill of health. And I'm making a slow recovery, but I have a clean bill of health, and my lungs are perfectly clear now.
Amen. Amen. Okay, and just for those on live stream, you weren't in the room when I already shared some of that, but we appreciate hearing it from you. No, that's okay. It's such a big thing. I'll hear it again. I could hear it 3, 4, 5 times. It's so exciting. So we did talk about the miracle of where you were a year ago, thinking that they thought you had cancer, and now you've got clean lungs, and we praised Abba very much. I may have mentioned you being stubborn somewhere in there too, but But I mentioned it as a good thing, as part of why you're alive and kicking. You're just too stubborn to go anywhere. And that's good. That's good. Amen. All right. Listen, I got to confess, because he's here now. He's going to watch the live stream. He'll know anyway. Okay. No, but I referred to that stubbornness as a good thing. Sometimes, people give up on life, and they do it at very young ages. But, when they told him he may have had that cancer, he didn't quit. He was content. He was okay that whatever Abba had in mind, but he didn't quit. And so that will to live is important. And we've got a lot of young people that I talk to that already are struggling with that will to live. And so let Rabbi Tom inspire you, okay? Because he's got all kinds of excuses over the last I don't know how many years to just say, you know what, this is too much, I can just quit here. And he doesn't quit. There's things to do, okay? And so I just want to take that as an encouragement. So when I called you stubborn, it was a good thing. All right, who's next?
Guess I'll go.
Okay.
Just had a prayer request for my son-in-law, who is now in South Korea. Apparently he likes it there, but he's going to be there for probably just under a year. And of course, Kirsten is here without her husband, and he is missing out on dear Alani growing through these rapid phases of growth, and just wanted to keep him in prayer, and Kirsten as she's away from him. So the two of them are going to be separated for at least a year, I think. Also, we are in the second phase of our transition. Actually, it's probably our third phase of our transition here to Tennessee. There's quite a few more phases, and just praying that Abba will help us to get what I think I see for our purpose down here in supporting MTOI and Rabbi and all the brothers and sisters here. Just continued prayer for that. and just a praise report that, I'm really starting to really look forward to Shabbat through the weeks now. It's like, it could be Sunday. I'm like, okay, 6 more days. I didn't have that so much where I was because I was pretty well in a float zone, where now I'm like tested every day. Like, I don't want to be doing this right now. I want to be with my father. I want to be with my family doing something where I can be more supportive here and not so much out there. But it's all in Abba's timing. Just got to be patient.
Amen. Amen. Okay, who's next? Bring it to Robert.
All right, we have several. When I say several, I mean out of 477, I probably have 100 requests in here for some form of healing and praise for healing, as well as prayer for healing. So they'll just hopefully forgive me for not mentioning each and every one of them. There are several that are going in for surgery, and many who have, with everything from simple sickness to heart attacks, blood clots. It's a great deal of requests for healing right now. Also, some prayers for finances and businesses that are not going well and that need to increase. And there are some who are looking at moving here, and there, one being Candace Middleton, who said that she's awaiting a call back, but there may be another apartment here in Cleveland willing to accept her in there. And there are a number also awaiting surgeries of various types. So the Veras are in the process of selling their home and moving into a fifth wheel and looking to where Abba would have them move next. So,
by the way, the black licorice is awesome. Thank you, Isabel. She sent me some homemade stuff. It's good for my throat, but I happen to actually really like black licorice. But anyway.
There's also several that need prayer for various marriage problems, some of them new to the body, some of them have been with us for a while, and their marriages are teetering on the edge. Some have recently pretty much ended, so prayer for them and strength. Praise report for from Catherine Harbridge. After 2.5 years of having to use a walker continuously, she's now walking normally and unassisted for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And prayer for Beth Smith's mother, Peggy. She was just notified that she will need to go to court on February 8th regarding a vehicle accident from 2 years ago. So praying that that goes in her favor. Anna Tripp would like us to pray for her 92-year-old great aunt. She has stage 3 Alzheimer's. Pray that everything will be okay for her, and that she'll at least remember who they are when they go calling on her. So,
okay.
From Cher, she's asking prayer for Glenn Stephan and his family. Glenn's brother passed yesterday in their home, so pray for strength for the family. And prayer for Crystal's brother, who is suffering from depression and dealing with drug addiction on top of it. So, and we have a Shabbat Shalom from Juan Aviles and Bet Hazim in Las Cruces, Mexico, praying that Yeshua will continue to love and guide and anoint us as a congregation and use you as our rabbi for his glory. So. And yeah, there's several more here on for different kinds of healings and stuff like that. I think that is from Jesse. He and his wife are going through a wrongful termination suit, so he's asking for a favor in that. It's also tearing up the relationship between them, so. And I think that's, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Much more prayers and stuff are coming in for healings of different types, and for dealing with family issues, trying to work on marriages and also the relationships further in the family as well, typically when the marriages are in trouble, then the rest of the family suffers as well. So please keep all that in prayer.
All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and add a few things here. First of all, we want to pray for all those that have contacted the ministry over the last week, and that we've been praying for them and with them, but just that we would also bring it out here before the congregation. I should have probably mentioned a week or so ago. I know this is not a big deal to some, but for us, it's showing that we're being effective. We want to thank all of you that do subscribe. We're up to 15,000. Now, in the big picture, that's a very small number, but, we were hoping to get to 10,000 last April, if you remember. And so that's almost a 50% increase in less than a year. That's pretty good. And again, it's not about subs. It's not about making money on YouTube. It's about that. It just shows us the amount of reach that we have, although I'm sure we reach a lot of people that never hit the subscriber button. So if you're on live stream, please hit the subscribe button, and it does help get us positioned more on that sidebar. When people are looking for other teachings and other stuff, they can post some of what I've shared, and give links to people. How many of you actually found me or this ministry because we were on a sidebar on YouTube? All right, see, about 8 or 9 hands went up. So that's part of why the subscriber thing is important, because the more subs, the more popular they think you are, the more you're likely to get positioned on that sidebar. Okay, so that's really helpful there. Thumbs up and likes are also good. So go ahead and hit that like button, etc. But anyway, I just happened to check the other day. I was checking a lot when we were getting close to 15,000, and I just forgot about it for a couple of weeks. And we're already at 15,137, so that's pretty good. All right. Okay. I still want that silver button. No, I'm kidding. That 100,000 button. It's it's just a little tease out there. But look, think about the effectiveness we'd have if we had 100,000 subscribers, and we'd be able to reach out and help people in that kind of way. All right. We also have been reached out to by some potential affiliate congregations. Okay, so we had one this week that contacted us that just is exploring whether or not MTY may be something they want to be a part of. And so let's keep that in prayer. And, all that we do at MTY is present an opportunity of the type of service, the type of help that we can give as an organization to a congregation. And so we're exploring that with a congregation right now. And they're out in the West Coast, so that helps having more stuff out west, which is good for us. Okay? As far as, when I say good for us, I mean because we have other people we could plug in to groups that we're affiliated with out west. We have quite a few people isolated out west, and some of them have moved here. I got a bunch of Californians sitting right here in the front. Okay, so we had people move from out west here, but it'd be nice if we could have something out there as well. Okay? Of course, the easier solution, in my opinion, is just to pack your bags and move. It worked for you guys. Okay, and they're all clapping, okay? We still have a lot of empty seats, okay? I mean, we got room for 40, 50 more people. Come on in. All right, so I think that's going to cover it for my prayers. I've got a couple of unspokens as well, but let's go ahead and pray. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Father, we come before you, and we want to start by recognizing who you are, that you are King, sovereign, creator, that everything that exists was brought into existence by you for your purposes, and that you have complete and total authority over all, that there is nothing that exists that can withstand your will or your desire. And so knowing that, Father, we come to you with our praises, knowing that none other in the universe would deserve credit and praise for all that is going on in our lives. And so, Father, we come to you with that heart filled with joy and love and appreciation for all the miracles, small and great, that you do in our lives every day. Everything that you do to help us remember that you are there, that you are aware of what's going on in our lives, and that you care. So, Father, we thank you and we praise you for all those things. We also come before you with our needs, our concerns. We have health issues, relationship issues, finance issues, job. We have all kinds of issues. There's no lack of issues. But, Father, we know that the only place to bring those concerns would be to you. No other in the universe would have any ability to actually fix our problems or show us how we need to change so that our problems will be resolved. And so we come to you seeking your guidance and your intervention and your answer in all these things, knowing that you knew what we needed before we asked, but that you desire us to ask. Coming to you, believing that you hear and answer all prayer, but also knowing that your answer may not be what we had wanted it to be, but that your answer we need to accept is the right answer. And so, Father, we thank you. We praise you. We give you all glory and all honor in the name above all names, Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen. Amen. Okay, amen. I'll have Dawid come up and lead us in the liturgy. Okay, so if you'll all rise.
Okay, so the Huertas had a death in their family recently, and I know that there's other people as well that have expressed that there's been deaths in the family recently. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing Kaddish. And also, one of the things about Kaddish is that it's not necessarily a prayer for the dead. It is in relation to, like what Job said in the book of Job, when he said, "Though he slay me, yet will I praise him." So it's, if you notice everything in the Kaddish, it's all about praise to the Father, even in the worst times in our lives when we lose family members and things like that. So that's what the Kaddish is all about. This is not like a Catholic prayer for the dead or anything like that. So to begin. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divra chiruteh Ve'yamlich malchuteh Ve'yatzmach purkaneh Ve'karev meshicheh B'chayechon uve'yomechon U'chayet chol bet Yisrael Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olol me'al maya yitbarach yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei kudsha b'richu Lela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Ose shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Glorified and sanctified be God's great name throughout the world which He has created according to His will. Amen. May He establish His kingdom in your lifetime and during your days and within the life of the entire house of Israel, speedily and soon. And all say, Amen. May His great name be blessed forever and to all eternity. Blessed and praised, glorified and exalted, extolled and honored, adored and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed be He, beyond all the blessings and hymns, praises and consolations that are ever spoken in the world. And say, Amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and for all Yisrael. And say, Amen. He who makes peace in His high heavens, may He make peace for us and for all Yisrael. And say, Amen.
Amen. Okay, we're going to pray for those that are standing. Give me a second to come up here. Father, we come before you, and we're going to ask a special prayer, a special blessing upon all those that are mourning the loss of a loved one. That, Father, did you spend a little bit extra compassion and mercy and love on these who are mourning, to help comfort them, to give them a comfort, a shalom, a peace that goes beyond understanding, a peace that can only come from you. That, Father, you would hold them close as they go through this very challenging time, and that, Father, that you would pour forth that soothing salve that can only come from you, encouraging them and uplifting them with their hope of a resurrection and their hope and knowledge that you are in control and in charge, and in all things work for the good of those that believe. And so, Father, we thank you and we praise you and ask this special comfort and blessing upon all those that are mourning. In the name of Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen. Amen. All right, you all can stand now for the liturgy.
Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Yahweh HaMevorach. Baruch Yahweh HaMevorach leolam vaed. Bless Yahweh, who is blessed. Blessed be Yahweh, who is blessed forever and ever. Amen. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, thy tabernacles, Yisrael. Ve'ani berov chazdecha avo betecha
קודשך ביראתך. And in thy great compassion I will come into your house. There I will bow, there I will fear thy holiness, O Yah, O Yah. Shema. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Waed. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh is one. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever. Ve'ahavta. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Mi kamocha. Mi kamocha belim Yahweh, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot ose fele, ose fele. Who is like you, Yahweh, among the gods? Who is like you, mighty in holiness? You are awesome in praise, doing wonders, Yahweh, doing wonders, Yahweh. Veshamru, Veshamru, B'nai Yisrael, Israel, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Israel HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה יהוה את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Together,
And the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat, to make the Shabbat throughout their generations an eternal covenant between me and the children of Israel. It is a sign forever, that in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed.
Amen. Amen. Okay, children, give them a minute. They're going to go ahead and set up the chuppah. I will be led in the prayer today by Mr. Craig Lane.
Can I move to?
All right, we need a couple of more men to come up and help hold the poles. Dale, going up. How many more you need? Okay, he's coming. We need one more? Frederick? Frederick's coming. All right, children, go ahead and get under the chuppah. All right, if you'll extend your hearts and hands towards the children, the blessing of the children be led by Mr. Craig Lane.
Alvino Malkano, our Father, our King, we come before you just thanking you for this precious gift that you bestowed upon us, these children's parents, and just these children in general, to witness their growth and their just growth over time. We just thank you. Thank you for this amazingly awesome job as parents that we get to witness a piece probably of how you look at us, and that may we encourage and enlighten our children and the areas that we may see you in them, and that we can help them pursue what you have created them to do. And we just thank you. We thank you every day for these beautiful children. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Children, you're dismissed to your classrooms. Thank you, Craig. All right, the rest of you may be seated.
Bryson, when he gets set,
all right.
There's a water bottle under the piano that needs to be
Amaaseh v'hatruma, the tithes and the offerings. Now, we don't take up a formal offering here at the congregation. We do have a box in the back, as always. And for those of you that are on live stream, we do have donation buttons on our website, as well as on the live stream. And we do appreciate the support, hopefully, of what you see the Father doing through this ministry. The purpose of tithing, as we understand it, is to teach us to always put Yahweh first in our lives, as well as to help us to really appreciate the abundant blessings he gives us. We talked about that in the tithing teaching we had done last year. Blessed are you, Yahweh your Elohim, King of the universe, who commanded and made promises to us concerning the tithe and the offerings. May you open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that cannot be contained as we walk in these mitzvot and these commandments. Amen. Amen. Okay. Excuse me. Announcements. First of all, I want to welcome our guests. We do have a few guests here today, so hopefully we're going to do our best to make you feel welcome. We define guests as those who've been here 3 times or less. After that, your family. Of course, we think of our guests as visiting family. And so, but we want to do a little extra, as Abraham, our father Abraham would have done, as he was known for his hospitality. So as a guest, we want to make sure we make you feel welcome here today. Okay, so, because all of us have visited congregations where we were pretty much ignored or left alone and isolated because, after all, nobody knew us and they didn't know if we were ever coming back again. So therefore, they really didn't care. My wife and I have visited some congregations where, until we were there 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, nobody even knew we were there. We were ignored. They're like, hey, if they're not coming back, why do we need to say hello? Well, because they're your brothers and your sisters, potentially, right? We may also all be living together forever. So why wouldn't you go over and say, hi, my name is, how are you? And introduce yourself, okay? So, after services today, you're all welcome to participate in our fellowship meal. It's called an oneg. Oneg means delight in Hebrew, and it is a delight when brothers come together to break bread and eat together. It's always a good thing, and the food is always good. We got some really good cooks here. The food is really always good. And it's amazing because people say, but you can't cook on Shabbat. Well, it's amazing how good food can taste when you have it already prepared the day before. It doesn't have to be just prepared 5 minutes ago. And so we have some really good food that was prepared yesterday. All right. Upcoming dates and calendar stuff. We don't have a lot on there. There is the Tuesday study that we do every week. Okay, so every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time on Adobe Connect, we have our Torah study. Of course, those of you that say, oh, you said every week. Well, last week it didn't work. We're not really sure why. Robert, did we ever get that resolved? Do we even know if it'll work when we try? We have to do a test run and see if we can get it to work. Oh, and then when we called them while we're engaged, they didn't answer the phone. All right, that's fine. You got to love customer service. See, they got a button to push when you call and say, push 1 or 2, whatever it is, if you are in a meeting right now and need help. So Robert did that. Nobody ever answered. Then he called them the next day and they said, well, you got to call us when you're in the meeting. Shalom, find shalom. It's so frustrating. So we do apologize to those of you that may have been frustrated and wondered if somehow you were blocked. Because it's funny human nature. Some of the people that could not get in the room thought we blocked them. I don't know why you would think that. It's just so unbelievable to me. We just could not get the thing to work. Okay, now I wasn't even going to be in the room. I was actually in a meeting about the new property that we're looking to possibly get in Calhoun with the 225 acres and have it as a feast site. And we had just had an engineer walk the property, and I wanted to get his feedback without having him have to make a second appointment to meet with us. And so he was available right after he did that, and it was going to make it so I wasn't going to make the meeting. So Rabbi Tom was going to lead that meeting and do the study that night, but we just couldn't get it to work. And so hopefully it'll work this week, and as we try to do these things every week. Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern time. All right. January the 20th, a week from tomorrow, is meeting day. Okay, that's for those of you that are in the South African leadership. We'll be meeting at 10 a.m., which is about 4 p.m. your time. For those of you that are in all of the general full leadership, we're meeting at noon Eastern time. And then the general session, which all of you are invited to, is at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Okay, so the general session is an opportunity to meet with the leadership and with others around the world that are part of MTOI, trying to walk together, to work together, to serve, whatever the Father's needs are and what He has us to do. But it's also that opportunity for you to ask questions and interact with the leadership. Because I've heard from you guys over the years, you've said that you've been to places where you never got anybody that would be willing to hear what you had to say as far as an opinion or an idea or whatever. And so if you've got things that you'd like us to do that we're not doing, or things that we're doing you'd like us to stop doing, or whatever it is, this is that opportunity to come, be respectful, be polite, but you can have a voice, okay? And so we're also going to share with you the things that we're planning to do, because we will have already had our leaders meeting a few hours earlier, and that time gap between meetings is getting smaller and smaller as our leader meetings get longer and longer. Because we have about, for those of you that wonder about accountability, we have about, how many, Robert, what would you say, about 20? There's about 20 leaders
serving various congregations around the world that come to that meeting once a month, okay, who are part of MTOI's vision of working together to serve the body more effectively. And so we help each other with what's going on in those congregations, and as well as discuss positions that MTOI needs to take a stand on. You know, something may come up and MTOI doesn't have an official position on it, and so we'll discuss those things. So a lot of what we've discussed in that meeting will be shared with you if we came to any decisions or any kind of commitments to things in the 8 o'clock meeting, okay? Also in the 8 o'clock meeting, we tend to find a topic that is to the benefit of all that we can discuss for a few minutes, and that usually is the last 20 or 30 minutes of the meeting is dealing with something like that. Okay. So that will be on Sunday, January 20th. Now, I know I've been promising you every week Passover information. It's interesting because we're already getting emails from people wondering if we are going to be hosting Passover. People that don't know us very well, obviously they don't listen to the live streams, but they're familiar enough with our ministry that we host these 2 times a year. Actually, we host 3 times a year because we do Shavuot as well. So that is being worked on. I have the contract now. We've already put the deposit down on the property. It's the same property as last year. It's going to be a little bit different housing configuration in terms of what buildings we're using. For those of you that were at the YMCA, we're going to have rooms in the BRC, which is where we ate, okay? And those are hotel-style rooms. We're going to have rooms in another building called I think it's called Asheville Hall or something like that. And that was, if you were coming around that back road past where the pool is, it would have been on your right across from the pool, more or less. And it also has the hotel-style rooms, like in the BRC, okay? And we're also going to have rhododendron, and I think that's it for housing. No, not Barnhard. What was the other one called? I'm blanking on the name of the other building. Robert, what was the other building called? Not Barnhard, the other one. No, Ashford, that's the one with the hotel. The other, we had 2 buildings last time, Barnhard and something. Hibbard. Okay, we're also going to have Hibbard Hall. So altogether, it's over 100 rooms. Hopefully, 3-4 people in a room. We can fit a good number of people in these rooms. And so that'll hopefully work out very well. Because we have 40 in the BRC, 40 in Asheville, or Ashford, or whatever that building's called, and 23, I think, in Hibbard. All right? The pricing actually looks really good. It may actually, in some cases, be a little less than what you paid at Sukkot. How that worked out, I don't know, but I'm not complaining, okay? And so we'll get that all worked out for that. I'm hoping to get that worked out. I just started working out of here this week, okay, out of this building. We don't have the offices done yet, but I brought my computer and everything, lugged it in, and set it up in the conference room. And so I plan to be here most of next week as well. And part of what I will be doing is generating the registration form for Pesach, and then we'll get that up on the website hopefully this week. Now that I've got all of that organized and set, I don't think there should be any problem getting that done. Of course, then 16 other emergencies pop up and it doesn't get done. But I am trying, I promise you, to get it done. Okay? But the dates for that are Friday, April the 19th to Sunday, April 28th. All right? Now, Passover and unleavened bread will be over on that Friday, the 26th, but because it ends on a Friday, goes right into Shabbat, we'll be staying all the way through Sunday. So we'll be checking out and leaving on Sunday the 28th. All right, so that would be the plan for the the YMCA Blue Ridge Assembly over in Black Mountain, North Carolina, just a little, like maybe 45 minutes further east from Asheville off of I-40. Okay. All right. So you need to be making sure you're doing good and diligence with your second tithes, okay? Because that's what you're going to need in order to attend the feast and be able to pay for what you need to. Okay. I think that's going to cover it on announcements. So let's go ahead and get set for the teaching. I think we might cover more than 7 verses this week. Maybe. It's certainly possible. Because you do remember the days when we cover over 100. So we'll see how it goes. Anybody know what we're doing today? Part
22, okay, good. You guys are paying attention. For those of you playing along at home and keeping score. Okay. And we're beginning where? Proverbs 3. Oh, you guys are paying attention. Okay. Excellent. If you have a phone, you may want to go ahead and turn that off. Set it to silent in case you haven't already done that. I'm going to set mine to the timer so that we keep this within a reasonable amount of time. Okay, I'm looking to the crew there. You guys ready on your end? Okay, they're all set. All right, let's see. All right, I think I'm ready here. All right, so today we are in Are You Covenanted, Part 22. We're continuing here in the book of Proverbs. And what we've been doing as we're going through Proverbs is looking at covenanting through the non-mechanical parts of it. In other words, there's a lot of mechanical parts to a covenant. Because we talk about a covenant as a relationship that, when it's set in place, has an expectation of certain things that would be specified things, specific things that would be done or not done. That's the mechanics of it. But there's also a heart part to it, an attitude part, a character part, an approach that's important. That's why we talk about ultimately what the Father, I haven't said this in a long time, but what we're doing is ultimately we're trying to become the type of person the Father and Son would want to live with forever. Isn't that ultimately what we're trying to do? Become the type of people they would want to live with forever. Because after all, the whole point of all of this is to get to that place where you hear, "Well done, good and trustworthy servant," enter into that forever. And so what we in the past have talked about many times is, what does that look like then? If we're trying to become the type of person that he would want to live with forever, what does that look like? And the simple answer to that is the mechanics, which is Torah observance, obeying the commandments, because after all, the covenant was, I will speak and you will do. So you agree to whatever I say you're going to do. Exodus 19, around verse 5 and 6, that's the covenant. However, it needs to be done in the fruit of the Spirit. You have to do it lovingly, joyfully, patient, kind, gentle, etc. Okay? So what we've been dealing with in Proverbs is that other half of it. The half that has to do with how we do it, why we do it, what's behind our hearts and our thoughts as we do what he says to do. Because I don't think any of us want to spend forever with a bunch of people that are only there because they felt like they were forced to do it, and they didn't really want to do it, and they're kind of miserable about it. Yeah, I did what he said and everything, but I didn't really want to do it. It messed up my ability to make money or this or that or some other thing, and I'm still holding on to that. Or I lost friends over it or family members over it, and I'm still bitter over that. And we need to not have that be in us, because that becomes that thing called a root of bitterness that leads to all kinds of ugly and death. And so we don't want to do that. Now, one of the things we talked about here is that motivated us to get into the verses in chapter 3 is because in verse 17 of chapter 2, it talked about the person that had forgotten the covenant with Elohim, being distracted by all the other endeavors and pursuits of life. It's not that they actually forgot. They just got real busy doing other things, or had other desires and motivators driving where you're going, driving your thoughts and your decisions and your actions. Remember, we talk about that whole process over and over again. We think about things, the more we meditate on it, dwell on it, and obsess on it, eventually that stuff goes into our heart, where emotions get all attached to it, and then what happens next? You do something. Or you stop doing something because the emotions and the thoughts are all about, well, I don't want to do that anymore, or I don't like to do that, or, hey, I really want to do this, and I don't care what anybody says, but I want to do it. And so we start to get in that rebellious place, and in doing so, we forget that we made an agreement to do what he says, but to do it with all of our heart, not just to do it begrudgingly or, mechanically or out of fear. Because the fear that we should have is not being afraid, but out of awe, reverence, respect, and being afraid to disappoint and let down. So we get here into Proverbs, and Shlomo is teaching his son, and he's talking to us as well as children of Elohim, saying, look, we'll go back to the beginning of verse 1 of chapter 3 and just read through the first 7 verses quickly. My son, do not forget my Torah. Let your heart watch over my commands. For length of days and long life and peace they add to you, but not just because you did them mechanically, but because, he says, let not kindness and truth forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. See, we're dealing with the approach now. Hopefully, before we got to Proverbs, we made a strong argument in case that you need to do this stuff. Well, actually, you don't. You only need to do it if you want to be covenanted. Because the covenant is an agreement to do this stuff. What stuff? Whatever he says. Whatever that is. Whatever he says. And so, now we're talking about the heart and the approach to it. He says, if you do that, he says, thus you will find favor and good insight in the eyes of Elohim and man. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. And so, again, we talked about how relationally, you have to have a relationship with him so you understand why he instructed us to do things. We talked about it today. Today is Shabbat. We opened up service by saying, Father, we appreciate that you cared enough about us to know that we would need this day, so you created this day at the beginning of creation. Right after you created us, you created what we would need most, which is that time to spend with you. That's knowing him. Instead of saying, well, we got to keep that day, and I can't go to work, and all my friends go and hang out on Saturday, and oh, what an awful thing. But rather to realize, no, he cared about you, thought about you, and loved you enough to make this time set apart. He did it for you. It doesn't do him any good at all. He doesn't need this time. Do you think Yahweh was tired? Anybody really think Yahweh was exhausted, tired after creating everything in 6 days? I don't think so. But he knew he needed to teach us a pattern of behavior. Labor for 6 days, rest and focus on him in 1 day. And so he thought enough about us to create this time. So it says here to know him in all your ways. So when you keep Shabbat, you should be knowing why he did it. It's not just to see if you'll obey. It's because he knew you would need this time. He didn't tell you to stop eating the shrimp just because you wanted to spoil all your fun or whatever it is that you liked. It's because he knew it was bad for you. And it took science a long time to figure out that a lot of this stuff was bad for people. Oh, those voodoo, those Jews were doing in the dark ages, and they weren't dying of the plague. Well, they weren't eating pig, so they weren't getting trichinosis. Wow, it's amazing that Yahweh knew that. And it told them not to eat it. And so, know him in all of it. So have that relationship with him, so you understand what's motivating him, so that we know what should be motivating us in the doing of what he says to do and the not doing what he says not to do. And if you don't know, if you don't understand, you should have enough things that you do know that says, well, you know what? I don't know that yet, but it's okay. All the other things I know prove enough for me that I should just be trusting him. Doesn't mean that you're going to need to know everything. In other words, have a relationship with everything you do, understand it completely, as far as the why and everything. You need to understand what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But you may not fully understand why. Well, why can't we do this, or why does he want us to do that? But he tells you enough of those things that you should now be able to say, I'm ready to trust anything he says because of how amazing all the rest of it has been. I don't need everything, because I have people saying to me, arms crossed across their chest, going, well, I ain't doing it till I understand it. I said, did you understand the covenant part? In Exodus 19, he says, if you agree to do everything I say, not everything that I say that you understand, but everything I say. All you need to understand is who you're dealing with. Do you understand who it is you're dealing with? The creator of the universe, the one who gives you breath, life, provides you with everything you need. So you should have enough evidence of all of that the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you don't really grasp fully, so what? Do them anyway.
or don't do them if he says not to do them, but trusting that one day you might figure it out, but it's unnecessary for you to figure it out. He got them, always remember this, he got them to agree to the covenant before he actually said anything. He said, I want you to agree, and by the way, this isn't Nancy Pelosi and the government saying, I'll let you read it after you vote it in, okay? This is Yahweh, the creator of the universe, who says, you need to trust me enough that you're agreeing in advance that you want me to take care of all your needs, and in order to get that, you're going to agree to trust me to do everything I say. I want you to agree to that, he says, before I tell you all the details. But remember, he'd already freed them from slavery, took them out of bondage, did the signs and wonders, split the sea, provided them with things in the desert to eat. So it's not like they had nothing to kind of base this on. They personally experienced incredible miracles by any standard. And so he's saying, look, you need to know him in all your ways. Well, good. You know who he is? Then I need to show that in all my ways. That I'm trusting him, I'm believing him, I'm doing what he says, I'm not doing what he says not to do because of knowing him. I might not understand why he says do this and do that. It's okay. Some of that stuff that I didn't understand why many, many years ago, I understand now because over time that stuff gets revealed. But you should already have enough experientially that you don't need to know everything, but you know enough to know who you're dealing with. And someone's like, well, you know who you're dealing with. I don't want to sound that way, but you're having a relationship with the Creator, the King, the Sovereign of the universe, and he has chosen to make an opportunity for you to covenant with him. If that doesn't inspire you and blow your mind, you've gotten jaded too much by the fact that you've been doing this maybe your whole life and you were raised in some whatever. No, this is the creator of all things allowing you to have a relationship, an intimate relationship, a covenant relationship with him. That should just freak you out almost. I mean, that's incredible stuff. But we take it for granted. So we're told here in verse 6, know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. Because if you know him in all your ways, that means you're going to be doing his things because you know better, and his things lead to straight paths. We want to zigzag and we want to go all over the place, but it's a straight, narrow path that leads to the kingdom door. But we want to take all the detours and zigzag all over the place. He says, don't be wise in your own eyes, fear Yahweh and turn away from evil. So now let's take this forward into the rest of the chapter. The reason he says to all of this stuff is because it is healing to your navel and moistening to your bones. So some of you that are struggling with health, and I want to word this really in a correct way. I want to be careful. I'm not saying if you're sick because you're breaking covenant or breaking commandments. But maybe the reason you're not getting well is because you're not focusing on keeping commandments. Did I word that well? Did you understand? Did you follow that? I'm not saying necessarily, even though you could be, he could be just trying to get your attention, allowing you to be sick. What I'm saying is I'm not saying that it's sin and breaking commandments that is affecting your health necessarily. But you're not getting healed. If you're not getting healed, maybe because he's waiting for you to realize he's utilizing that sickness or situation to get your attention. And so maybe there's something that you need to be working on. Now, it could be time and chance. You could have, like a lot of us do, one of those kind of ongoing cough things like half the country has that doesn't seem to want to go away. That still doesn't mean that Yahweh may not be using it to get your attention. It may just be time and chance. But I'm saying is examine your life and your situation because he says it's healing to your navel and moistening to your bones. In other words, he's saying there's a health component to this. If you would not be wise in your own eyes, fear Yahweh and turn away from evil, evil as defined as what? Doing anything that goes against what he has decided it's supposed to be. In other words, using something for something it wasn't meant to be used for, doing something you were not designed to do, not doing things that you were designed to do. In other words, going against the way he has set in motion. That is called evil according to him. But if you would fear Yahweh and turn away from evil, it may affect your health. Esteem Yahweh with your goods and with the first fruits of all your increase. So in this wisdom, in this understanding, there's Shlomo wanting to mess with your finances. That's right. The little baby's like, yeah. Eliadah's like, you tell him. Okay? He says, look, you need to understand that tithing is not a scam by the ministries to get your money. We talked about this in the tithing teaching. He says to esteem Yahweh in doing these things. Doing these things brings glory and honor and esteem to Yahweh. You're honoring what he has said to do. Esteem him with your goods and with the increase of your first fruits. That's your tithing and your offering. He says, if you would do this, then your storehouses will be filled with plenty, and your vats overflow with new wine. Well, that shouldn't surprise you, because what does the covenant say? If you'll do what I say, you will have everything you need. Well, one of the things he says is to make tithing, is to give your tithes and offerings. And then he says, well, if you give me what I asked you to give me, you will have abundance to overflowing. I mean, that's exactly 100% in line with everything that covenant says. Do what I say, and you will have lack of nothing. You will not have a problem with fertility, you or your animals. You won't have a problem with abundance. You won't have a problem with being safe in your dwellings. You won't have to fear from your enemies. You'll have total protection. You see, this is just a part of that same covenantal thing. And here, Shlomo's saying, look, get your attitude right. Get your head wrapped around all these things. Know him in all your ways. And notice where he goes right away. He goes to meddling with your stuff and your money. Why? Why does he do that? Probably because it's the hardest place for us to deal with obedience. It's one of those places that we're most challenged, is what do we do with our money? Do we esteem him in our goods and with the first fruits of our increase? Or are we still reluctant to take that first tithe right off the top when the check comes? Are we reluctant to take that second tithe, which is a commandment to benefit you? By the way, the first tithe is a commandment to benefit you too. Without Levites or priests, whether it's Melchizedekian or Levitical, being supported by tithes and offerings, you don't have any of this. Of course, there's a lot of people out there on YouTube land who think we don't need any of this. Well, that's all fine and good. But if you think you need all of this, it's being supported by the commandment to tithe and offer. And otherwise, you wouldn't have all of this. Now, I'm not a ministry that's going to sit here like a lot of them do at the end of the year going, well, you know, without your support, none of this would be possible. No. With or without your support, if he wanted it, it's going to happen. If he didn't want it, it's not going to happen. You get an opportunity to participate in it, though. And you receive blessing or not based on your level of participation in the things Yahweh says to do, and that includes tithing and offerings. It's not limited to that. It includes everything he said. Sabbath keeping, feast keeping, how you eat, how you treat each other, how you love your neighbor as yourself, equal weights and measures, a hard day's work for an honest day's pay. There's all kinds of commandments that you get an opportunity to show him how you are obeying or not. But ultimately, hopefully you understand this, all commandments are for your benefit. They are to bless you. We go through this every time. Keep you safe. And this is the key, to transform you from who you are and what you are in character into what he is. It is a transformative vehicle. So there's nothing about that burdensome, terrible law. It's all for you. Does Yahweh need your money? Does it really affect him personally when you eat wrong? Does it affect him when you don't keep feasts? See, there was a mythological idea in Greek mythology, Roman mythology, like in those ancient mythologies, that when we don't worship them and attend to them, that somehow it diminishes their power and they start to die and that kind of thing. They live off of the worship of people. Yahweh does not need us for anything. Nothing we do affects him directly, except for one thing. It's his desire
to have people to live with forever. So all we're affecting is something that he wants to see happen. But he allows us to have the free will to choose if we participate in that. But don't for a second think that Torah observance somehow is about him. It's about him only from the point of that it's a covenant. We have come into an agreement, a relationship with him, but all of it's about you. It's to bless you, keep you safe, and change you. Oh, but see, that's where the mainstream has totally missed the whole boat. They missed the whole point because they want to do away with all of that. They want to do away with what blesses you, keeps you, and changes you. Because they don't understand that it's not a punishment. The whole Melchizedekian teaching that's out there, the book of the law versus the book of the covenant, blah, blah, blah. That whole thing is all about this concept that somehow there's laws that are horrible and against us and we're only there to burden us and punish us. He gave us additional laws to clarify things that we were screwing up and didn't understand. So the more we were messing things up, the more he had to give us laws to explain, that's not how you do that. This is how you do that. This is how that relationship works. This is how this is supposed to function. This is what you're not supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. But all of that is still to benefit you. Because I know when we get to the end of Deuteronomy, which is after all of those supposed laws that were against you and blah, 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 Moses says, anybody remember a guy named Moses? Did Moses understand better than we do all this stuff? You bet. He said in verse 11 of chapter 30, this command that I'm commanding you today is not hard, not far off. You don't have to go into heavens or across the sea to get it, but it's near you and it should be in your heart and in your mouth. He said, I'm laying before you life and death. Choose life. Oh, no, that was that awful stuff. There was the laws that were against us and blah, 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 blah. They're not understanding what the New Testament is talking about there. Every bit of the Torah is for your benefit. It's not for his benefit. He said, hey, I could raise rocks up to do this. He said to Moses, hey, why don't we just kill all of them and start with a whole bunch of new people? I mean, I can't just keep doing that if I need to. Just keep wiping them out, start again, wipe them out. I'll get what I need eventually. Why do you think it's been so many generations? Only so many in each generation are figuring it out. They're understanding the relationship that he desires. He's patient. We talked about, well, why would he tarry? Well, he's tarrying because he's waiting on us. He's waiting on whatever number of human beings that have ever lived are the number that he wants to do the next step. To have the light bulb go on. When I say light bulb, I don't mean he opened your eyes and opened your ears. That's already part of that. But when you realize that he opened your eyes and ears for a reason, and you start to embrace the reason, and you start walking forward, knowing and embracing that reason, now he's got something to work with. Because now you are changing from what you are into what he is. And so that's the important part of all this. But yet, we want to focus on, he just wants our money, he wants this, he wants that. We don't have Levites anymore, so we don't have to do that. Tithing was not about the Levite. Yeah, they got to have it. It was always about the person giving the tithe. It was a faith, trust issue. It was esteeming him with your money. Oh, yeah, the Levites got the money so they didn't have to have another job, so they could spend all their time focused on the work of the temple. And in helping the people, like examining their skin for things that were happening in their houses, for things that were happening, and all those kind of stuff. Really tough to do if you had to grab them off of a carpentry job or some other farming or cattle job and say, excuse me, do you have a few minutes? I need you to look at something. But they were available all the time. We need full-time ministry. Hopefully you get that at least. Although that's being attacked everywhere. Although I don't seem to think that within the body that I happen to have an opportunity and blessing to serve, that there's any problem with the people knowing that they can call us 24/7. Because I'll tell you what, Robert and I get calls at every hour that you can think of. Because there's a need for somebody to be there to answer that call. But how do you think that gets supported? How many of you have a job where you are not allowed to take personal calls? Lots of people, okay? Maybe not in this room. We've got a lot of people that work out of the house and stuff, but a lot of people out there can't take calls.
So if your ministry is working at a job somewhere and can't take calls, how are you going to reach them when it's an emergency? Can you call that ministry person like happened recently and said, we had a death out in Canada? Can you come up and do the funeral or the celebration of life as we called it? Can you come up here and do that? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me check with my boss first. Let me see if I can get those days off on 0 notice. Where do you think that, how does that come about? Well, Yahweh provided that through tithes and offerings. But remember, it's esteeming Him. You're honoring Him. You're giving Him glory and honor by trusting that what? If you do that, then your storehouses shall be filled with plenty and your vats overflow with new wine. That's how you're esteeming Him. You're having emunah. You're trusting Him. See, the covenant was a trust agreement. He says, if you will trust me enough to do everything I say, then you can also trust that I will take care of everything you need. And not just what you need, even things that you just want. I'll meet all your desires. It's overflowing into abundance, right? Shaken, pressed down, and overflowing. But it's a trust issue. Can He trust you? And can you trust Him? You better be able to trust Him. If you haven't seen enough in your life to just trust Him, then I don't know what you're doing. But yet some of you, many of you will call me, and I'll look at you like, I don't understand what's going on. Do you not trust Him? Why are you not trusting Him? But. Are you a sheep or a goat? If you're giving the old but, you're probably a goat. And if you're not a goat, you're acting like one, you better get that goat suit off. And I didn't call anybody a goat, but you're starting to act like one. Be careful. But. No, He said it, trust it. But we have such trust issues. We don't have enough faith. Even Yeshua said, when I return, am I going to find faith? People with full emunah that are really trusting. I mean, He's in the boat with them, and they're freaking out. And I don't think that it hit me until, it took many years to really hit me that these were fishermen that were freaking out. Okay? I don't go on a lot of boats. Little boats, fishing boats, that kind of thing. So I don't know how I would feel when a huge storm is coming and water's flowing over the edge of the boat. I may panic before the guy who goes out there and does it for a living. But these are fishermen who are freaking out. They're used to being on boats in rough waters. And they're thinking, we're going to drown. But they're not thinking, but we have our safety and protection right here in the boat. We're not going to drown. Don't let the evidence that's in front of you confuse you with the reality that Yeshua is right there. See, but we have that. Oh, but you don't understand, Rabbi. I can't pay my bills, and I just lost my job, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you don't understand. Is He in the boat with you or not? Oh, maybe the reason you're panicking is because He's not in the boat with you. Maybe you don't have Him in the boat because you've decided to go off on your own, in your own boat, and not take Him along with you. Maybe you have a reason to really panic. But if He's in the boat with you, if you're doing the best you can with everything that you can, why are you afraid? Why are you panicking? And don't feel bad if you actually find yourself doing that occasionally. The apostles did this. Okay? And we hold them in such a high level. And He looked at them like, come on, guys, really? I'm right here. What is the point? I mean, and He's sleeping through the whole thing. And they wake Him up, and He's like, what? Now, I have a feeling, and I've never said this before, I have a feeling He wasn't asleep. I think He had His eyes closed and He was paying attention. And He's watching everything they're doing because He's testing them. Ever do that, right? You're lying down and you look like you're sleeping, but you're listening to what's going on in the house, and you're kind of being aware of what's going on because you hear something going on and you want to see how it's handled. Okay? Especially for dads, husbands, right? The kids are going in to go through something with each other, or the wife's involved, or some other thing is happening, and you're just letting it, everybody thinks you're asleep, but you're like, I'm really interested to see how this plays out. So you don't get up right away, but you kind of like, let's see how this goes. I want to see how they handle this. I think that's what Yeshua was doing. But they thought He was sleeping. Now, even if he was really sleeping, it's not the point, but I think it was a test for them. And he's watching them freak out. And I'm like, he's like, I'm right here. But you know, you have your overflowing water boat moments where you forget he's right there. You're in the boat, the water's flowing over, and you're freaking out. Covenant says, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, he'll take care of everything. Now let's say, yeah, but I'm drowning. Well, what if you do drown? Well, then that was okay. That was part of his plan. He allowed it to happen, and there's a reason, and you don't get to understand it necessarily until later. Maybe you don't get to find it out till the resurrection. Then you get to, by the way, you let me drown. Yep, because you were good. Didn't need to go any further. Whatever it was. Okay? Because he allows stuff to happen. Sometimes he allows it to happen just so that we know this world is not the world we want. People back cars over children. People have cancers and all kinds of diseases and freaky things happen to their lives. People have all kinds of stuff that take their lives. And he allows all that to happen to show us that this is not his world right now. He's allowing us to have dominion so that we can see the result of that dominion. The covenant is we give up dominion. Do you remember your 8 declarations from the mikveh? What's the first one, pretty much? One of the first ones is, I, of my own free will, am giving up dominion over myself. I am giving up all of that authority and coming completely under the authority of Abba, of the Father. And I'm going to submit myself, and I'm going to take on the responsibilities of that commitment. That's all covenantal language. If you go through your 8 declarations when you went in the water, that's all covenantal language. It's a lot wordier than simply saying, whatever you say, I'll do it. But it's essentially the same thing. But in the 8 declarations of mikveh, some of you out there going, where's that in the Bible? It's not in the Bible. I just felt I was inspired to have people say these 8 things before they go in the water. You can find it on our website, okay? But the thing is, the reason it's a little more wordy and covers a little more detail is because you are acknowledging where you're starting. You're starting self-sovereign, part of the system, under Hasatan in the world, and you need to voluntarily and of your own free will come out from under all that. Now, Yahweh didn't have to have Israel do that. They'd already been physically brought out of all that. They didn't have a whole lot of self-sovereign issues. When they were in Egypt, they were slaves. They had no sovereignty. Of course, as soon as the slavery was ended and it came out, all of a sudden they found their self-sovereignty and got all full of themselves. Oh, I like being in charge of me. And Yahweh's saying, that's dumb. You don't know enough to know how to be in charge of you. So I got to teach you. I got to instruct you on how to have authority over you. Now, this may sound a little confusing. I'm going to say this. I've said this before. Ultimately, though, you need to have full authority over yourself in order to submit yourself. If you're still a slave to Pharaoh, or a slave to the system, or have a slave or have a high level of influence by a friend or a family member or some other person, you can't really submit yourself to him because you're already under an authority. You need to take all of that back so that you can give it. Does that make sense? So in a right way, you must become completely self-sovereign in order to give that sovereignty over to Yeshua. Because right now, some of you have other people sitting on that throne in your head, in your heart. Family member, friend, coworker, whatever it is. I don't know who it is, but you've got other people. Sometimes you got 3 or 4 of them take turns sitting. Because some of them have to do with different aspects of your life, who you let have authority in that aspect. So if you've got a whole group of sovereigns running your show, take away those crowns, take it in your hand, don't put it on your head. You're now fully back in charge, and then offer that crown up to Yeshua. But you need to get it away from everybody else. You can't covenant if you're already in covenant, essentially. You already have a headship, because who you listen to, who you give that authority to, that's the headship. Now, there are proper relationships where there's supposed to be headship. Children with parents, husbands with wives, congregation members with the ministry. But all of these are in a support role to the ultimate headship. It has to be in line, in other words, with that vertical connection. But a lot of you are still allowing people to have headship and authority and have a crown or a piece of that throne who are not in that alignment. They're not aligned with Yahweh, and you give them authority. So you still have covenants, which is why part of the 8 declarations is to ask Yahweh to annul any and all agreements you may have made, even conscious or unconscious, and not even aware of it, with any and all authorities that are not in line with Him. You can come under authority with a ministry person if you feel that ministry person has shown and demonstrated that you're supposed to be with that person because they're in line with Him. And that's where you're supposed to be. But why do you give other people authority? And it's amazing to me. I mean, I get call after call or Facebook message or whatever from people like, well, I watched this video and it really disturbed my peace and blah, 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 blah. A video? You mean you don't even know the person? But whatever they said in the video messed you all up. Why? It just was information that didn't line up with how you saw things and you didn't know what to do with it. So you call your teacher and ask. But why would you call me already emotionally upset, in tears, and all whatever, distraught because the teaching you heard by somebody messed you all up? A person you don't even know. Or some person on Facebook told you something and told you how wrong you were and that you were living in sin or whatever you were doing. Do you know that person? Oh, no. Met him on Facebook, met her on Facebook. So why are you listening to them? I don't mean listening to them like informationally. Why are you allowing them to create such an emotional response? The only reason is because for whatever reason you're believing them. Why are you believing them? What are their credentials? I'm not even talking about credentials like what school they went to. Why do you think you have enough of a relationship with them to give them that kind of power? That's what I mean by credentials. There are people in here that have been walking this walk with me, helping them in whatever capacity for 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever many years. That's credentials. We have a relationship. You know how I care about you or not. You know how I've given you help or not in the past. We have a relationship. This faceless person who you have their name on Facebook, you've never met before, and you only know for a couple of weeks, what credentials do they have to speak into your life? Why do you let them? Because you're covenanting in an unconscious way. Now all of a sudden this is an authority in your life. All of a sudden this is a person that's speaking into your life. Why do you let people do that? You should be very careful who you let do that. You know, we have a real challenge, and I'm going to take this opportunity, it's kind of a sidebar, but it kind of work in, because I never do that, right? There's a real problem also, well, let me phrase that. There's a real problem in general with understanding the role of ministry. We let people speak into our lives because they claim to be a teacher or whatever, or we expect people to speak into our lives and they don't want to. You know, people will come to me and say, oh, I'm very concerned because some people are doing this and some people are doing that and they're kind of part of the group. And I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? I've made it very clear we're not a cult. It's not my job to micromanage everybody's lives. Is what they're doing claiming to be MTOI or under my name and with my name personally on it? No. Okay, so I don't like what they're doing. Okay, so you don't like what they're doing. What do you want me to do? Why don't you make them stop? Why? I don't have that authority. Oh, but they're starting this group, or they're doing this thing, or they have this blog, or they're listening to these teachers, or they're doing this other thing. So, we're here to provide you with a service. Literally, today, a service. We're here having a Shabbat service. We provide you with teaching. We also try to provide you with counsel if you ask us for it. How many of you have ever had me call you to get in your face to counsel you about stuff that was really just your own stuff? Never. Okay? Why? Because it's not my job to do that. You need to come to us. Now, if what you're doing is somehow causing a problem for somebody else and they came to us, that's different. I'm just talking about you chugging along in your life, you haven't done anything that would have affected anybody else in the group, and I come to you. Why would I do that? Well, we don't like that they're doing this or that or the other thing. Well, that's okay. Do you not know that all of you have come to covenant from a different place? A different spot on the timeline? Did you forget that part? Which means that some of you I'm going to say this in two different ways. It's going to be interesting how it comes out. Some of you are further along on the timeline than the others. Some of you think you are and you're not. That was the part I thought would be more interesting. But you're coming from different points to this thing called covenant. Different life experiences, different amounts of growth up to the point where you're here now. And so some of you have made decisions to let go of some things that others of you have not made yet. And so what? We're supposed to give them grief and make them stop, whatever, because they're not there yet? Philippians 2 is not Torah, by the way. But I love what Paul says there, and I think it's true for everyone. We're all walking out our own salvation. Okay? And let's also remember that when we see things, okay, here's one of those funny things. Is it Torah that in order to be an elder, you have to have your house in order and all these other things? Is that Torah? Who said yes? Okay. Who said it? Did Paul say it? Did Moses say it? Did Paul say, thus said Yahweh? So it's Paul's opinion that an elder should be all those things. It's not Torah. It's wisdom. It makes a lot of sense. We have to be careful that we're not taking a man's and guidance of his group and turning it into Torah. Some of you out there's like, he's disrespecting Paul. No, I'm not. I think Paul would be shocked to think that his stuff was called Torah. I know he would. As a matter of fact, he'd be offended to have his stuff held up as if Yahweh said it. Which is why Paul often said, this is me, not Torah. He didn't always, but there were times when he said, this is me. This is my opinion. But we start walking around treating certain things that were written in some of the letters as if they're Torah. And they're not. Doesn't make them wrong, because the people who wrote them didn't claim they were Torah. That would have made it wrong if they claimed something and Yahweh hadn't said it. But once you get to Matthew, there's no thus said Yahweh's except what comes out of Yeshua's mouth. None. Are we all in agreement? Even Revelation is still Yeshua revealing. And he says, this is the revelation given to me by the Aleph Tav. Do you see that in Timothy? Do you see that in Romans? Do you see that in 1st, 2nd, 3rd John? Do you see that in 1st, 2nd Peter? No. You don't see these things. Let's be careful, because some of you will come up to me like, blah, 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 about such and such and such, and you know what it says here? That's not Torah, leave it alone. Allow the leadership to decide how we handle that. Oh, well, you guys don't know what you're doing because you're allowing this person to do this thing and that, blah, blah, blah. So what? Where did you come up being the expert all of a sudden? You're the expert, you go run something. You think this is so easy. I'll trade jobs with you any day of the week. I got a guy right back there, Mr. Hat. Go ask Daniel what he said the other day about you couldn't pay me enough to have Rabbi's job. He told me that the other day. You want this job? You can have it. I don't do this for the money. I don't do this for the glory. I do this because he won't let me do anything else. Okay? Praise God. Thank you. Okay? But if you think, because remember, when you go to correct leadership, are you ready to step into that place? Because after all, you think you're right and they're wrong and you're so smart and you got the right answer. Good. That's what I tell everybody out there that wants to criticize my teachings. Fine. Where's yours? I want to criticize yours. Put yours out there for me to criticize. Don't just tell me how I'm so wrong about whatever. Oh, well, you know, what you said here is wrong and it doesn't say that and blah, blah, blah. Fine. Where's your teaching? You don't think my position's correct? Where's your teaching? Put it out there for everybody to see because you're so smart. Oh, but you're not going to do that, are you? Well, but I'm not a teacher. Oh, there's a revelation. Then why are you correcting a teacher? If you're right, put it out there. Because obviously, I'm not the only one maybe that teaches whatever it is you think is wrong. People need what you have. Fine. Put it out. Why do you think I teach? Because I think the way I see things, the way I feel like I'm inspired through the rock to teach, is something that people need to hear. And they're welcome to do whatever they want with it. They're totally free to ignore it, critique it, use it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's put out there free. But why would you think that you should just be the critic sitting there critiquing this thing? Well, where's your answer? Where's your teaching? Show it to me so I can have my input and show you where I maybe don't agree with you. Maybe I disagree. Put it out there for everybody else to put their YouTube comments and tell you what an idiot you are. We get them every day. People love us and hate us. That's part of the way it works. A lot of people are indifferent. I do not understand what motivates the people to actually post negative comments. I watch lots of things on YouTube that I don't like, and when I get to that point where I realize I don't like it, you know what I do? I turn it off and go to something else. I never, ever feel I need to comment in a negative way. I don't even give them a thumbs down. I don't see the point. There's an audience for what they do. I'm not that audience, so why should I give it a thumbs down? The people that are their audience give a thumbs up. They love it. Good. That's for that audience. Does that make any sense? We got people that gave us thumbs down to the Rosh Chodesh service before we went live. The cameras weren't on yet. And we had 3 thumbs down already or something. It's like, what is wrong with you people? What bitterness and what anger and what ugly stuff is in there that you have to do all of that? I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about anything. I don't put thumbs down on any video I ever watch. If I get to it and I go, ooh, I just turn it off and go to another video or do something else. I've never, ever given a thumbs down or posted a negative comment because that thing is just not for me. If you are a mainstream Christian listening to me, you're not going to like what I say most of the time. So why are you listening? Go listen to a mainstream Christian. You'll love it. Why are you listening to me? I mean, this is like, I remember as a kid listening to one of those shock jocks in New York that was on the radio. And people would call in about his show and hating his show. And he would always say, so turn the channel. Nobody's making you listen. See, but this is a misunderstanding of understanding our role in relationships and covenants and all that kind of stuff. And so we expect certain things. You know, the ministry, we were talking about the ministry's role. We are here to provide you with an opportunity to have a service. We also provide an opportunity to sit down and break bread together. Do you know how many verses it says that I have to do marriage counseling? Show me one verse where anybody's doing marriage counseling here in the Bible. Finance counseling, business counseling, life coaching, job problems. Do you see anybody doing any of that in here? Oh, but you guys all expect it from us. And I'm glad to do it if I can. There's no requirement in here to do any of that. And so people get frustrated. Well, I emailed you like 15 times about my marriage problem and you didn't get back to me. First of all, it's not my job. Sorry to be so loud about that. So don't get mad at me because I didn't get to do it. You want to get worn out? Go ahead and counsel a bunch of people about their marriages for a couple hours a day for a while. See how worn out that'll get. You'll be on drama overload. And I'm not picking on the couples that I counsel. They have real issues and they're dealing with real stuff, right? But I'm the one that has to then counsel it, and it's not the one that's the problem. But you add it up to 15, 20, 30 a week, 2 or 3 hours at a time. Now, it's very gratifying, by the way, because this weekend, for example, I got a call from somebody we did have marriage counseling, a couple that was separated that are now happily together. Okay? And I was able to be used as a tool to help them see things a little differently. Also, a parent and a child relationship has been restored. I'm gratified by those things. But this is hard work. Oh, but you know, we don't need to put any money in his box. He only works a couple hours on Saturday. This is the easiest part of my job. The Saturday part. And by the way, how many of you noticed that, not to pick on anybody here, but after we eat, how many hours am I sitting in the room counseling after we eat? It doesn't stop because the body needs. But you need, and then of course there's all these geniuses on YouTube and on Facebook saying, well, we don't need teachers in ministry and stuff. Really? Who do you go to when you're having a problem? Where do you go when you're struggling? You don't need us? You don't need somebody to go to? That's terribly depressing, actually. Because there's nothing to do then. If you got nobody you can go to, then you're just, what do you do? But Yahweh put that in place to have a structure. Because what happened when you see this with Moses and you see it with his father-in-law, and what happened? People were coming to him with all their problems. And his father-in-law said, Moses, you can't do this all yourself. Now, Moses had 603,000 plus men, over 20 to pick from. Do I have that? No. We don't even have 100 people in this room, and if we count only the adult men, we got a very small number. So he only found, by the way, how many out of 603,000? 70. 70. Do you know what percentage that is? I did a calculator math on that one time. It is an incredibly, infinitesimally small, whatever the right word is. I mean, it's just unbelievably small. Like the period, like the decimal point, and a whole lot of zeros. That's how small it is, till you finally get to a number. Percentage-wise, 70 out of 603,000. And so we are what we are, and we do what we do, and we have to be patient and understand that that's part of your covenant is that Yahweh put in place leadership and structure in ministry. Go read Deuteronomy 17, and you'll see how the structure is supposed to be, where it lays out when issues come up and how you handle it. Did I get the right chapter on that? Right, 17, right? I don't know why my brain just, let me just look at it. Yeah. Okay? What did happen even with Paul? Paul's the big hero of the mainstream. What did Paul put in every congregation? Elders. But who was really in charge? Paul. What were the elders there to do? Counsel, guide, help. Always supposed to be structure. And the covenant is about structure. It starts off with us and him, and then he puts in people and other beings in the middle to help in that us and him thing, and us and each other thing, right? Because we have these two relationships that are in that covenant. They're really described with the two great commandments, to love him and to love each other. But you know what? We're bad at both. We struggle with both. We're ignorant about how to do either one of those. So he gives us people to help us in between the us and him and the us and each other. I'm struggling with so-and-so. Okay, then you can come to somebody. I'm struggling with him. I don't know. Somehow I feel like I'm not. Well, then you have somebody to turn to. But that's part of the covenant, is that he would provide what you need if you obey. What do you need? You need some human beings in the middle. He provides them. Paul tells us in Ephesians to go look for them. Basically, he says, there's these fivefold guys. They're there for your edification, for the perfecting of the saints, until we all come into the fullness of Yeshua. Not there yet. That's part of covenant, though. He says, I will provide every need. Part of that is people in the middle. But they don't get to insert. This is the problem that you have. You allow people to insert themselves in between you and people, or you and him, instead of you choosing who gets to be there. Did you hear what I said? You allow people to insert themselves in the middle instead of you vetting and taking the sovereignty of yourself to say who should be allowed that position. Because people come to me all upset. I'm like, why are you upset? Well, this person said this to me, blah, blah. I said, well, who is this person to you? Nobody. I met them on Facebook last month. How can anybody you met on Facebook last month disturb your peace? Well, I've talked to them a few times on the phone. Okay, you talked to them a few times on the phone and you met them last month. Why is this person so important in your life that you're upset, crying, and disturbed and depressed? Unbelievable stuff. But you let this happen. Grab hold of your sovereignty. Do not put that crown on your own head, and then give it to him like you're supposed to, and then let him put the people in between where you need to be. Let him lead you to where those people are. Then you have to do the vetting to make sure that, Abba, is this the person I'm supposed to have there? Don't just let anybody get in the middle. And some of these people will insert themselves. They will start to gain control over you because you let them. And they will start to dictate to you. Anybody know what I'm talking about in your own life or other lives that you've seen? You've seen it. Don't allow that to happen. Because then what happens, you start listening to people out there telling you not to tithe. Now we're back to this. Because now you wonder why your storehouses aren't full and your vats aren't overflowing, so to speak. The metaphor for having physical abundance. Go out there then instead and find people that are tithing. Let them tell you their testimonies of how that's the reason they don't have poverty. It's the reason they have abundance. Some people are still reasonably, we'll call it poor, meaning they don't have ultimate abundance. But you know what? They've never had a problem paying their bills. And they will tell you, and they will tell you it's because of tithes and offerings. We have people in this congregation that have always been right about here, but they've always stayed right about here. They've always been above the drowning mark, and they claim, and I trust their testimony, they believe it's because of the tithes and offerings. Some of you, though, are afraid that if you tithe, you're going to go under. No, if you don't tithe, you're going to go under. But get counsel. I mean, if starting tithing is actually going to put you under at that very first moment, well, then you should be counseling about how to get yourself to that place. But you have to start here in the heart and want to do what he says. That's back to the whole covenant idea. Is it in your heart? Is it your desire to do what's right in his eyes and not whatever you want? And to see what can't be seen. That's the Hebrews 11. Faith, the belief, is the evidence of what you can't see yet. You believe it's going to happen because he says so, even if you can't see it physically. That's faith. It's not the name it, claim it faith. It's the he said it, and so I should trust it faith. Not the I said it, so he'll back it up faith. We kind of got that inside out. It's the he said it, I believe it faith. Not the I said it, he's going to back it up and give it to me faith. Well, you claimed it. Well, because you know what we do? The claim it people are going to claim anything Yahweh said that applies to maybe specific people and claim it for themselves. So now you got to go back to Yahweh said it. What did he say? Did he say it to everybody or did he say it to one person? Yahweh told Sarah she would have a baby. All you barren women, you don't get to stand on that promise. He didn't promise you a baby. He promised Sarah a baby. But there are people out there that will claim that for themselves. He gave one to Sarah, I'm claiming it for me. No, you can't do that. Now, you could stand on the corporate promise if we were a corporate body living in the land under Torah with a proper sovereignty. Then you can claim that there should be no barren among us. Are we there? No. So that promise doesn't work either. Stick to the promises that he says are for everybody. Don't go grabbing promises that he made to one person and think it's for you. What he did say is if all of us were to honor him with our stuff, we would have abundance to overflowing. That's a promise to everyone. Now, abundance to overflowing in the diaspora, in the dispersion, may mean that you have enough to pay your bills at all times. It doesn't mean that you're going to have the mansion and the fanciest car and you can go and eat out every day. It just may mean that you have what you need, that you don't struggle beyond that. But some of you struggle because you're not honoring him with your stuff. Now, some of you say, but if I'm already broke and already can't pay my bills, how can I do that? That's when you go to one of those guys in the middle and you ask for counsel, because giving the money to the ministry only to ask for it back because you can't pay your bills doesn't make any sense. So you need to come to the ministry to help them figure out why you're drowning. And once you can figure out why you're drowning, maybe we can put a couple of plugs in those leaks so that your funds are not just flowing everywhere. Or maybe figure out how you need to get either a different job, a second job, or whatever it is. And then you can start doing what you want to do, which is honoring him with your stuff. Does that make sense? Because some of you are thinking, but you don't understand, Rabbi, I can't pay my bills now if I start tithing. Well, then call for counsel. Because first you need to show him that you want to do it. Not using your poverty as an excuse not to do it. I'm not saying just go start doing it and basically borrowing to tithe because you already are behind on everything. Call the leadership you have for counsel. Because this is all linked into covenant. And see, we just did less than 7 verses. We're only on like 3 verses here. Trying to prove myself wrong, saying we would definitely do more than 7 verses. Well, we got a few more minutes. He says, my son, do not despise the discipline of Yahweh and do not loathe his reproof. Notice that that's completely linked immediately after the tithing question, the honoring him with your stuff question, the first fruits. He's like, look, don't despise the discipline. In other words, when you don't obey, what are you going to get? Discipline. He said, don't despise it. It's meant to just wake you up and instruct you. When Yahweh talked about in the first 5 books, when I think it's in Deuteronomy, when he says, and if you don't listen to me, I'll curse you 7 times more. At one point he says, and if you're not instructed by these curses, the curses are meant to be instructional, educational, not punishment just to be punishment. He says, don't loathe the reproof. Don't despise the discipline. It's meant for your good. All things he does are meant ultimately for your good. Do you believe that or not? There is a verse that says, all things work for the good of those who believe. That means whether it's good or not at that moment, it's going to work for the good if you embrace it correctly. Don't despise it. Don't loathe it. For whom Yahweh loves, he reproves, as a father the son whom he delights in. We know we have this as part of the Deuteronomy 8:2, and then if you continue forward, he says the same thing in Deuteronomy. So Shlomo, I believe, was very aware of Deuteronomy. So he's simply quoting it here. He says, blessed is the man who has found wisdom and the man who gets understanding. And he says that immediately after this reproof thing. It takes somebody with wisdom and understanding to appreciate discipline. Now remember, it does say, not here, but in other places, that discipline is never fun while it's happening. Yahweh understands that. We all understand that. But it doesn't matter, though, that if you can get through it, it brings the peaceable fruit. It brings the good fruit if you don't fight it and don't despise it and don't loathe it, but embrace it, to learn from it, to be disciplined and corrected, and then change appropriately. And if you change appropriately and go forward, you get the fruit. The good fruit. What good fruit? Wisdom, understanding. These are things we've been talking about for a couple of chapters now. It's all about getting and seeking after wisdom and understanding and knowledge. Because the wisdom and understanding should be about ultimately affecting the knowledge or the relationship with each other and with him. He says, for the gain from it is better than the gain from silver, and its increase than fine gold. So what is better? The wisdom and the understanding, which he says immediately after honoring with the first fruits and disciplining. See, a lot of you have your financial mess because you don't have the discipline to get your finances right. Okay, I'm going to smack everybody a little bit. Some of you are spending like crazy people and just like as if you have money that you just don't have. You need to stop that. Some of you need to get off your lazy you-know-what and go work. And if you got free days, work more. And if you don't like working, fine. Find something that pays better and do that. Stop just sitting in dreamer land. Well, one day you're all like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, but some of you are Ralph Cramden, and he always had like this dream. He's going to stop driving his bus, and he's going to be like this bazillionaire with his dreamer thing. And none of it ever worked. Instead of just figuring out how to be something other than a bus driver. Not that there's anything wrong with being a bus driver, but if it's not paying your bills, then you need to be something else. And if you are relating to any of these stuff, well, then take the discipline. Don't loathe it. Don't get mad at me. 6 days you shall work. Some of you don't work 6 days. You have extra time. Go work. Some of you can go deliver pizza at night or do some other thing. And some of you can work 2 jobs. Some of you need to do all of that. Get your finances right. And if you don't like doing all that work, by the way, if any of you are all whatever, oh, yeah, Rabbi, blah, 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 I promise you, not too many of you, I won't be so cocky to say none of you, but probably very few of you work as much as me. So I'm not saying this from a guy who's just putting in his 30, 40 hours and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm saying this to someone who probably works more than all of you. Maybe there's some exceptions, but I doubt it. I doubt there's very more than 1 or 2. I work. Always. A lot. Oh, yeah, I spend time with the family, and yeah, I do stop and eat, and I do sleep, but I work more than just a 40-hour week. As a matter of fact, an 80-hour week would be like a vacation. So don't think for a second, oh, yeah. Oh, no. I'm not asking you to do anything I'm not doing. And by the way, those of you that do know me more intimately know that I'm actively looking at other ways and other additional things to do to make more money and create more things that can benefit the body, etc. That's only going to put more on my plate. Why are you all afraid to work? Or afraid to change work and get retooled? And when are you going to recognize that what you're doing isn't getting you where you want to go? And some of you are spending yourself into the problem. Some of you are not working yourself to fix the problem. Some of you have both going on at the same time, probably most of you. You're spending and you're not working. And you're not suffering enough because you've gotten enough to the point where the nothing you have is okay. You're used to it. And that's okay if you're okay with it. Then don't complain about it, because then you're showing you're not okay with it. But if you can't tithe, there's something wrong. If you can't give an offering, there's something wrong. Remember what I talked about in the tithing teaching? Tithing will expose either a selfish, greedy problem or a financial problem. If you have either one of those, it will expose it. You're either going to want to not give it because you want to, that's my money and I have other things I want to do with it, or you're going to sit there going, I want to do it, but I can't because I'm broke. So tithing exposes one of those two problems, or both. But are you going to take the discipline of it, the reproof, or are you going to just sit there and just whatever? Well, I'm 40-something years old. I'm 50 years old. What, are you ever too old to fix it? Are you expecting not to live to be 80 or 90, which is I guess, wouldn't most people hope to live that long? And so you got another 30, 40 years of frustrated broke? I want to walk around with a blowtorch without lighting fire under all your chairs or the anatomy sitting on it. And find that drive to do something. Because guess what? I get those calls. I can't pay my rent. Can't pay my car, can't pay this. I'm losing my job. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't, And I don't mind those calls. Stuff happens. But are you willing to do what needs to be done to minimize the likelihood of it happening in the future? Or are you just going to sit there doing the same thing over and over and over in that complacent? We talked about in here using discretion and having complacency, all those other things we talked about in the first 2 chapters. Some of us have just gotten really comfortable in mediocrity and nothing, and we're not aiming and striving. You want to be a king and priest? Where's that drive for you to be anything now? Let's look at the heroes of the Bible. Abraham, was he successful? Isaac, Jacob, even Yeshua. He had enough money in that box that he carried around with him that he didn't even notice that that Judas was stealing from him. No problem running around and doing what they needed to do. Wealthy people all throughout the scriptures. Why? Because they were industrious and they were driven and they believed. I'm not telling you to go chase the dollar, but get out of the drowning condition that you're in. How about that? How about aiming a little bit higher? You want to be a king and priest? How many kings, are struggling to pay their car payment? Or praying that their car won't break one more time so they have to replace it. Or, when was the last time any of you put on 4 tires at the same time? Very few. Why? Because they're expensive. And you want to be a king and a priest. I don't see any vows of poverty anywhere in Scripture. I see one guy that was obsessed with his stuff. Yeshua told him to sell it, because he was in love with his stuff. But that was a thing that was between him and that guy and anybody else that has the same problem. Love of stuff. The covenant's about trusting him. And what does he promise if you trust him and you do what he said? By the way, he says work 6 days. If you do what he says, he promises you abundance. Are you willing to do what he says to get the abundance? Do you even want abundance? Well, you got so used to having nothing that you don't even think about abundance anymore. Try it. You like it. Try abundance. It's nice. And I've worked really hard in my life, and I've had abundance and not many times. I've been bankrupt. I've lost everything. I know what it's like to have nothing. Some of you have had that struggle. I've had that struggle. I had to take my family, move back into my parents' house. You would talk about an embarrassing, humbling, shameful thing, but I had nothing at that point. But what did I do afterwards? I worked my you-know-what off to get out of that place to have. And I changed jobs many times because once I realized that job wasn't getting me to where I wanted to go, I took a different job. Don't be afraid to change jobs. Or do multiple things. I don't know. And just spewing it out here, please forgive me. All right. But in all of this, he says, if you take the reproof, it brings the wisdom, it brings the understanding, and this is more valuable than silver and gold. Why? Because it's going to bring you all the abundance. You don't need to seek after silver and gold. Seek after doing what he says, and the silver and gold comes. So nobody's telling you to go and chase money. Be diligent, be industrious, be driven, and the rest of it comes. Oh, wow, I've gone too long. Looking at my clock here. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Father, we come before you, and we're just so ready to move and to be light that fire in us, not that fire from a charismatic whatever. I mean, literally light a fire that motivates and drives us to strive to be diligent in being the most that we could be of what you created us to be, to maximize all the talents and gifts, to go out there and be industrious and to be about the business you gave us to do, to show that we can do and work. You know, Yeshua came and he said, my Father works and I work. How many vacations do you see Yeshua taking? He says, my Father works and I work. Father, help us to have that fire lit, to motivate us to be everything that you had desired us to be. Because I know that you desire us to be abundant and have life to overflowing. Yeshua said, I came that your joy may be to overflowing, to be filled to overflowing. So, Father, we want to thank you for this covenanting thing, for helping us to see the relationship that leads to abundance. Because after all, the ultimate abundance is eternal life. So, Father, we want to thank you, praise you, and ask you to inspire us to seek after the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, and to not despise or loathe the reproof on the process that's getting us to there. Father, we want to thank you, praise you, give you all glory and all honor in the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. 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 That applause came a little slowly as people are processing. I'm not sure, was I happy about that? I don't know. Okay, where did we stop? 14, right? All right, 14. So we did another 7 verses. 8 to 14. All right, we're going to be in Proverbs for a while, apparently. Proverbs 3. Okay, so I wrote it down. All right. So this is the part that we call the afterburn. I know I had enough pauses in there, Marty, when I wasn't saying anything that you could probably gain a few minutes to pull some of that out if it went a little bit too long. Look, I am passionate about this because I care about you. I'm passionate about this because I feel your pain when you struggle, even if you want to tell me to my face that you're not struggling. I know you're struggling. But you're so used to where you are that you're not thinking about it as a struggle anymore. Because you don't have that other life to compare it to when you're not struggling. So this is the part we call the afterburn. If you have a comment or question, you can raise your hand. And who's coming up to... Okay, Bryson, you get the mic? Okay, Michael's coming up to get the mic. Okay. Nate's got to go make sure people are not dying in the emergency room. And we appreciate that you come as much as you can and stay because you're in those emergency services and, you know. And so, look, somebody's got to be there when those emergencies happen, even on Shabbat. Okay, we're going to begin with Rabbi Tom. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't help something one verse ahead of where you stopped caught my eye. In verse 15 of Mishlei 3, it says, she is more precious than rubies. And then if we go over to Mishlei 31, the Eshet Hayil, the ideal woman, that's exactly how it starts out. For she is worth far more than rubies. And one's talking about a capable wife, and back in Proverbs 3, it's talking about wisdom and understanding. And I just see some kind of a relationship there.
Awesome.
Between,
and maybe we'll mention that next week when we continue starting in verse 15. That's
Okay.
good. I will make a note of that.
All right.
And so we'll connect verse 15 to Proverbs 31. I'm going to write that down here to remind me. Verse 15, right? To Proverbs 31. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right, who's next? By the way, you should be making the connection, I'll say it now, but I'll probably say it again next week, that the connection at very least is that the Proverbs 31 woman is walking in wisdom. Okay? And that's why she's to be highly esteemed, because she is walking it, she's living it. And that's why we're connecting wisdom with wisdom and understanding. So she's walking with wisdom and understanding. Okay. Where's the mic? Okay, anybody else? Wow. Okay, you're all licking your wounds and kind of rubbing your toes after I had the hammer out. I get it. Okay, we'll give it to Robert then. I left the big red hammer that I have on the desk back there, so I didn't even bring that out.
The only one I have is from Janet Hoffman. Wants to know, how do we become completely I think she meant, she says, how do we become completely self-sovereign and under Yahweh's authority? I think she meant out of self-sovereignty.
Okay, so first off, and I'll explain it again. You have to recognize that you've given over authority to people that you may not even realize you've given it. And you have to think about who has the most influence in your life. If there's a worker, a family member, a friend, or somebody that when they speak, you listen and that generally you do what they say, or you don't do what they say not to do, then they are someone you've given a certain amount of authority or sovereignty in your life. And so you have to first look for that. Ask yourself that question. Who do I fear, respect, have reverence for, whatever, that when they talk, it affects my decision making? They influence me to do or not do. When you realize who all of them are, take that authority away. That doesn't mean make a phone call and tell them, I'm taking your authority away. Just stop letting them do it. And once you've done that with all of those that are speaking into your life, you now have full sovereignty again. And then you take that sovereignty, which is why you do not put the crown on your own head, and you hand it over to Yeshua and say, now you're the only one I'm going to let speak into my life, and I'm going to only allow the ones that you put in between us as the human beings that you use as your tools in your hand, as your servants, and I'm not going to allow anything else. Here's the crown. But you can't give a crown when other people still have it on their head. Because you go to give the crown and Yeshua's looking at you like, yeah, but that's only one of 6 of them. Where are the other 4, 5, or 6 of them that you've given other people? He says, because I can't talk to you and have authority if you got 5 other people you're listening to also. Because then if there's a conflict, which one gets to win? Sometimes the wrong one. Think about it. Okay, so hopefully that answers Janet's question. So it starts off with you asking the question, who actually am I allowing to influence my life?
Okay, from Cheryl wants to know, as a Torah observant stay-at-home mom and wife, how does she tithe when her non-Torah observant husband does not believe in it?
Okay, so what is tithing on? And by the way, go back and listen to the tithing teaching. That'll help. What is tithing on? Increase that you generated. If you are the wife and you are at home and you're not working, how much have you generated? Nothing. It's his. If he doesn't tithe, it's his problem. You can make an offering if he lets you. You can't tithe on something you did not actively produce. The stay-at-home moms are not tithers. They aren't producing anything actively. I'm not saying they're not working and doing a hard job, but they're not generating income. And so if your non-believing husband or non-covenanted husband, whatever you want to word him, is not wanting to tithe, well, that's okay. That's his problem. You are not licensed, and some ladies do this, and I tell them to stop. You cannot just go ahead and sneakily tithe his money just to get yourself in all kinds of trouble. Yahweh's not going to punish you for what he's not doing. Now, he may punish him, and you may get some of the kind of collateral damage of that, but that's between him and Yahweh. If you have a little job on the side, anywhere you're generating something through your effort, and we talk about this extensively on the teaching, then that would be what you would tithe on. If you're getting Social Security, that's money you already should have tithed on. It's an insurance benefit. It's not an income. Okay? You can make an offering off of it if you want. Social Security is not an income. It's an insurance benefit. Social Security is SSI, Social Security Insurance, basically, to ensure that you're not impoverished when you retire. Of course, it's not enough money at this point to really ensure that, but okay, so it's not an income. It was generated by taxes taken out of your income that you should have tithed on already. Now, if you say, well, I never tithed on that money, well, fine. If you want to tithe on it, it's not really going to be considered a tithe, but you can take 10% and make it an offering. Then it's an offering, okay? Hopefully that answers the question. But I'm guessing that either you don't remember or haven't listened to the tithing teaching yet, so I would encourage you, go listen to the multi-part teaching on tithing. I think it was called Tithing, something about appreciating the blessings, okay? How many parts? Is it 3 parts? 3 or 4 parts? Okay. It's in the CC 101 program, the Covenant Community 101 program. All right, what's next? Was that the only one?
No. Adrian had a comment. Proverbs 3 starts by reminding us not to forget Torah and how extremely important it is to our benefit to watch over his commands with all our hearts. And then from
and some of you may think, well, I took license to just really talk about tithing a lot this time. But isn't it interesting, of all the things that could have been brought up in Proverbs 3, it's what we do with our stuff and the money that he brought up. I mean, he could have brought up almost anything in terms of Torah observance, where discipline would have come into play and some other thing. No, he brought up how we handle our stuff. And the reason is I think that's where we find some of our biggest challenges. Anything else?
I'm looking at, rather than type of response to everyone who's posting stuff, a lot of what's being posted is a very personal and individualized answers they're looking for. So I'm asking that they just call during the week for counsel, because they're specific to their circumstance, not general questions.
Okay, that's well played. Okay. Yeah, if you have very specific, unique problems and issues that you would like addressed that are unique to your situation, we are happy to try to help you. Just contact us during the week. All right? Let me go in order of effectiveness. I'll go least effective. Emailing me, least effective. Facebook messaging me, second least effective. Calling the number if you can, or trying to get in touch with Robert first, admin at M2I, and I'm sure he put that in there. That is much more effective than trying to reach me directly, okay? If you already know how to reach me directly, then do so. Okay, some of you have my number, etc. If for some reason I have called you on my cell phone, if I have not told you you can call me back on it, don't. Okay? Because sometimes to make calls, I have to do them when I'm traveling and mobile, and I will call you from my cell phone. That doesn't now mean you have license to call my cell phone. But some of you do.
Some of you I'm discipling, I'm counseling at whatever level, and I've told you, yes, you can call me, and you have ways to reach me directly. Okay, anything else? Daweed?
Just for me and my house, I wanted to thank you for being there for us, for counseling us, for discipling me before I even came down here. I just wanted to say thank you, Rabbi.
I appreciate that. And let me say something. I'll thank you back. Thank you for not despising reproof and not loathing correction, because you have had plenty, not saying anything negative, and you've handled it, and it's borne good fruit. Okay? And so that's an example that I think is a good one, because, he came with a lot of things that needed to be dealt with, and we've dealt with a lot of them. And you know what? Out of that, he's employed, he's married. There's all this wonderful fruit that wasn't there when we first met. Okay? And I am not taking any credit for it. I'm giving him the credit of being willing to come under authority and accept correction and have faith to trust that Yahweh was using me to do that, and then he gave you all those blessings. Okay? Amen. Okay, Lynn.
This is a true confession kind of thing. Some of you may know that I fell off the face of the earth after the Pesach. I came home to vandalism on a level that I've been going through this for 21 years. And I had a friend locally who's part of our body that I was close with, and spending some time with her, she told me that obviously, Yahweh was judging me. And I took that on. And I let that affect, I was kind of mending up things and ready to kind of reintroduce myself back to my sisters who had fallen off the face of the earth, who really cared about me. And you all know who you are. But I was ready to integrate back in. And I just really couldn't conceive of losing these dear, sweet, and spicy sisters of mine. And so I stayed off and the crimes kept happening. I had identity theft 5 times from April 1st, what was it, Pesach, to 4 times in a 5-week period. You just can't make this stuff up. So I really have escaped something huge. In California, they've been going on in my life for many, many years. So I just want to, I really thank you for setting it straight for me that I was taking that on. It seemed really Christianese to me, but I just couldn't handle the loss of these people. But it felt like an abandonment and burn probably from them. So I want to reach out to every single person who I may have hurt in that process, because I never would purposely hurt a soul. And I think you may know that about me, but please rest assured that I've missed you all very, very much, and I'm now safe. I'm safe.
Amen.
And I praise Yahweh for bringing me here.
Amen.
So thank you.
Amen. Amen. Listen, I want to say something I should have said earlier. I didn't say, but I should have said, look, the people that are trying to speak into your life, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying they're evil or any other thing. Just be careful of how much authority you give them. They're doing it because they think they're right. They're probably doing it because they love you and they're concerned or whatever it is. But just be careful the level of authority you give them. That's all. Okay? They're not trying to cause you a problem. I'm sure of that. At least some of them might, but it's very rare. So I would never even guess that that's the problem. The likelihood of it is very slim. But that doesn't mean that problems may not come if you're just listening to someone you give authority that you shouldn't have. Okay, so it's really about that. So please don't think for a second that I'm trying to attack or say negative things about all these people in your life that may be trying to influence you. They're probably coming from a right place, but coming from a right place doesn't make it not wrong. You can still do wrong things coming from a right place. And that's what we need to understand. Look at poor Uzzah when he went to touch the ark. Okay, he wanted to steady it. It looked like it was going to fall off the ark. Well, when he touched it, he got zapped because he wasn't supposed to touch it. But I'm sure his motivation was right. He thought, I mean, any of us would have done the same thing. You're standing there, the thing's bouncing along, it looks like it's about to bounce off of the cart, you reach out to touch it. But Yahweh showed us in that moment, and that's why that story is in your Bible, that having right reasons doesn't justify doing a wrong thing. Okay? So just understand that I'm not attacking any of those people that are trying to help you or whatever they're doing. Just be careful the level of authority you give them. What else? Anybody else? Who? Nobody. Okay, good. All right, let's go ahead and get the children. Wow, that was one of those teachings that really just shut everybody up. I wasn't aiming for the throat, I was aiming for the feet. Sorry about that. Little messianic whack-a-mole. Excuse me. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to, actually, Michael, I needed you to bring the mic back to Marty, because Marty's going to close us. All right, so what we're going to do here is the children are going to come down, we're going to have a closing prayer, and then those of you that want to will come up here, and you can wave at everybody out there in the live stream land and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Okay, nobody has to come up, and whoever wants to come up can come up. Okay, you don't have to have a coin in your pocket to do that. Inside joke. Okay. By the way, I will be trying to film sometime real soon the legend of the coin to explain this whole silly thing we do with coins. All right? It's not a cultish thing. It's nothing weird. It's a funny story. And we just have a lot of fun with it. Okay? So we're just going to wait for the children to come in. Okay, here comes Gadol. We're waiting for the Katan classes to come downstairs. Okay, now Dan and Dave, if you had told me I'd have worn the purple shirt today. You guys didn't tell me. I didn't get that memo. Especially since your name is on my parking spot. That was funny. I was almost going to make Dan do the sermon because his name was on my parking thing. People wouldn't have come back. Come on now, you do that Torah made flesh stuff. You can get up here and talk a little bit. Okay. Still waiting on the children. What's going on with the Katan class? Up, you hear the thundering of the stairs as they're coming down? Okay, either Katan A and B are coming or we have elephants on their way. Here they come. All right. Awesome. For those of you that are on live stream and you knew all this, we have our children during the teaching time go into 3 different classrooms, and they're learning the weekly Torah portion at their level. Okay? So they're getting a good interactive understanding of this week's Torah portion geared to their age group. Okay? And some of the teenagers stay in here because they want to hear the message in here. So we don't make them at the teenage level go to the class. So some of them go, some stay here, and that's fine. Those of you that stayed here, you may get quizzed. Just remember that. Just to make sure you were not goofing off but paying attention. Although for you teenagers, I'm sure you enjoyed the hammer swinging, so that was always entertaining for you guys. All right, I think do we have all the children now, Sarah Beth? Okay, good. All right, so if you all rise, we're going to have Marty lead us in a closing prayer. Okay, Marty?
Father, we love you with all of our heart, with everything that we have. We love you. You are the one and only true and living God, the one we serve with everything that's in us. Let your word go into us, and let our hearts be that good soil that brings forth a rich result. Thank you, Father, for your word. Thank you for Rabbi Steve, for placing him here, that he enriches our life and leads us from where we are into the kingdom. Thank you, Father, for every person that's here, for this week, that we would go out and be shining examples, adorning your life through Torah to the rest of this world in our everyday week. We love you. In the name of Yeshua, amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, anybody that wants to wave Shabbat Shalom to the live stream, come up on here. My boy. Okay, and those of you that are coming up here, especially the teenagers, all wise guy comments are going over my mic, so be careful. Just a warning. All right, do we have everybody? Everybody that wants to come up? We got a couple more squeezing in here. All right. Okay, so the way it's going to work, on 3, we're going to say Shabbat Shalom, and then Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov means have a good week. And anything else you want to shout out, some of it might get over there as well. Okay, here we go. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Shabbat Shalom! Shavua Tov! We love you. Have a great week. Blessings.